3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
From the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor, 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a monster Football Friday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and as always, streaming on YouTube. 855-212-4227 is the number to jump on in. That's 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That is ZACHGELB. Coming up at 4:20 p.m. Eastern time today, 1:20 p.m. Pacific, massive Buffalo Bills fan, Maggie Gray, who you may know from the Maggie and Perloff extravaganza, many of these same Infinity Sports Network affiliates. She will stop by. We will do some picks with the co-host of the Maggie and Perloff show, and also get her read on a few things that have happened in the NFL since we got off the air yesterday, and obviously talk about her Buffalo Bills fandom. Drue Tranquill is going to join us from the Kansas City Chiefs. Linebacker will be playing in that Sunday AFC Championship game, and he'll stop by with us to preview the Chiefs and the Bills. You know, usually when you're on the air on a Friday before Conference Championship weekend, you would probably pencil in that your first segment would have something to do with either the Washington Commanders or the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC Championship game or in the AFC Championship game between the Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. But we actually start the show today with the coaching carousel, as now Liam Coen is going to Jacksonville and Pete Carroll has found his way to the Las Vegas Raiders. So yesterday, I'm doing some work right after the show, and I'm sitting here in the studio, and I'm listening to JR, who is in Atlanta, and I hear JR start his show by saying, oh, and Liam Coen is now going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I'm like, hold up, wait a minute. I know JR does a great job, but I got off the air at 5:55 p.m. Eastern yesterday, and by 6:01 p.m. Eastern, I heard that statement and that sentence coming out of the mouth of one JR Sport Brief. So I'm like, did he misspeak? Did he mean Liam Cohen's going back to Tampa Bay? And I quickly rushed to Twitter, and I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. You know, we put out some of the content yesterday with Mia O'Brien, who covers the Jaguars, and I put it out right as the show ended, talking about the chances of Liam Coen still landing in Jacksonville in the aftermath of Trent Baalke. And the next thing you know, that actually happened, where Liam Coen is now with the Jaguars. And let me just say, what a cluster of a search that was for Jacksonville. I don't want to say that you ultimately got your guy, because this notion that Liam Coen was their top candidate, come on. Their top candidate was Ben Johnson. And if you couldn't get Ben Johnson, you were good with getting Liam Coen. And that's why at first, in my opinion, Shad Khan elected to keep Trent Baalke, even though it was stupid. Everyone told you, get rid of Trent Baalke, get rid of Trent Baalke, because he said, let's see if Ben will take the job under these parameters. And then if Ben doesn't, I know I have Liam Coen in my back pocket and he'll take the job. So Ben Johnson said, thanks but no thanks to the Jaguars, thanks but no thanks to the Raiders, and he winds up in Chicago. But here was where Shad Khan miscalculated things, because he was afraid to fire his confidant in Trent Baalke. He didn't think Liam Coen would have a backbone, right? Because it wasn't that long ago where like Liam Coen was an assistant quarterback coach for the Rams, and then Liam Coen was at Kentucky, then the offensive coordinator for the Rams, then back to Kentucky, and then this year being the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And he's young. He's never been a head coach before. So Shad Khan thought that he could dictate the terms of the hire. But here is what you realize now with these young, innovative offensive minds, and it doesn't even have to be young, innovative offensive minds, just young, innovative coaches. They all share one thing in common. They all give you the same line. And I've had so many young coaches talk to me on the record, off the record, I won't tell you who, but they all say alignment, 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 alignment. That's what they say. Let me translate what alignment means. They need to have the power. They need to be in charge of who the GM is, or they need to sign off on the general manager or have a previous relationship with the general manager. So Liam Coen looked at Jacksonville and he was like, yeah, I'm good with Trent Baalke. But what happened after that, where he ended up winding up in Jacksonville, I think you could do a 30 for 30 on it, if we're being serious. So you say to the Jaguars, I'm not going, I'm out, right? You leak it to Schefter, and Adam Schefter had to report the other day, Liam Cohen's going back to Tampa Bay. He's going to be the highest paid offensive coordinator in NFL history. So he was basically doing the Ben Johnson model, where it was, okay, there's a job that you like, but for whatever reason, you didn't want to take it. Like how last year, Ben Johnson didn't want to take the Commander's job. He goes back to the Lions. You spend one more year there. Your stock only goes up and up and up and up. And then you can have the pick of the litter, whatever job you want the next year. That's what we all thought yesterday that was going to happen with Liam Coen, because that's what we were told. Well, I don't know what exactly happened. And I don't want to get into the personal family stuff when you hear about things that have been said about his children and, right, his son being in the hospital, and that's why he couldn't return the Tampa Bay Buccaneers phone calls and things like that. But the Bucs were trying to get in contact with Liam Coen yesterday. And something happened where Liam Coen either wasn't picking up the phone or in a late fashion communicated with Todd Bowles. And maybe Todd Bowles, I'll throw this theory out there, because I don't like conspiracy theories, but I'm good with the sport conspiracy theory. There's difference in real world conspiracy theories and then in our bubble sports conspiracy theories. Maybe Todd Bowles was told by Liam Coen that he was talking to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And maybe Todd Bowles was like, you know what? I should be safe as an NFL head coach. I was just in the playoffs the last 2 years without Tom Brady. But I'm not going to tell the Buccaneers because there is maybe a minuscule chance. Because some people yesterday reached out to me and they said with Liam Coen going back to Tampa Bay, don't be surprised if Liam Coen a year from now replaces Todd Bowles in Tampa Bay if things don't go over well or things don't take to the next step in Tampa Bay. That's what I was told yesterday. So maybe Todd Bowles sat back and maybe Todd Bowles said to himself, hey, and I don't have this is not right reported on. This is not me saying this is as fact. This is just me speculating. Maybe Todd Bowles didn't report to his superiors and say, hey, yeah, Liam's back in on the Jaguars job. Because maybe in the 11th hour, if it came down to Liam Coen going to Jacksonville or Liam Coen becoming the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers next year, maybe they just would have got rid of Todd Bowles right now. So that's just speculation. But whatever happened, Liam Coen ends up taking the Jaguars job. So look at really the brass set on Liam Coen. He goes up to Shad Khan. Liam Coen, he's like what, in his 30s, right? And I say that as someone in my 30s as well. Liam Coen is 39, never been a head coach before. He walks in there. He makes the Jaguars believe that he's going to take the job either way. Then Ben Johnson says no. He tells the Jaguars to go pound sand because you didn't get rid of Trent Baalke. And I don't want to walk in and be the one to get rid of Trent Baalke because the owner basically said he could do that. So then when Liam Coen goes back to Tampa Bay, he had a deal where the deal was he'd be the highest paid coordinator in NFL history. And then as that deal wasn't signed yet, or even if it was, doesn't matter because you're going for a head coaching job, the Jaguars basically begged. They'll say, we'll blow you out of the water with Ben Johnson money. And we'll give you a contract that you can't refuse because we know you want this job and you just wanted this job with Trent Baalke not being here. You know what? We'll also get rid of Trent Baalke. So the big winner is Liam Coen. And I know there's people that say, oh, but what happens if it doesn't work in Jacksonville? Because Shad Khan, right, this is the sixth coach he's hired. He has a winning percentage of 30% since being there. He's only won 30% of his games since taking over the Jaguars since 2012. So it may not work out in Jacksonville. Like, it probably won't work out, even though I like the hire of Liam Coen, and I've been saying it now for weeks. And I think it's a good pairing with him and Trevor Lawrence. You got Josh Allen, you got Brian Thomas Jr., and it's not a difficult division. But if it doesn't work out, there are people that think, oh, Liam Coen will never get a job again in the NFL. That's just baloney. Like, do you forget what Josh McDaniels did to the Colts? He left them at the altar, right? Went to the Super Bowl, hired coaches in Indianapolis, and then after the Patriots lost to the Eagles in the Super Bowl, he's like, yeah, I'm going to go back to milk off the teat that is Bill Belichick, and I'm not leaving. I'm not effing leaving. That's what Josh McDaniels did. He was able to parlay that into getting a job, sorry, Stu, with your Las Vegas Raiders. So you could get a job again. Liam Coen is a friend of Sean McVay. If you've had a sip of coffee with Sean McVay or next to Sean McVay, or you know of Sean McVay, or you know Sean McVay's sister's, I don't even know if he has sister's mother's, plumber, electrician's, fifth cousin, you could get a job in the NFL. So this idea that this is risky by Liam Coen, did he annoy some people? Did he piss some people off? Absolutely. But this idea that Liam Coen, if it doesn't work out in Jacksonville, can't get another job, that to me is just stupid and it's ludicrous. I'm not saying another head coaching job, but he's 39. Like, can he go be an OC or quarterback coach somewhere? Whether it's the NFL or college? Absolutely. So the Jags ultimately got one of their guys. Not their guy, because the guy they wanted was Ben Johnson, but they got one of their guys in Liam Coen. And if you're a Jacksonville fan, you're happy But how you got there just shows you how incompetent this organization could be. Because any other organization, right, would just say, Trent Baalke, bye-bye. We'll go get Ben Johnson, Liam Coen, instead of, Ben goes to the Bears, Liam's going back to Tampa, and then boom, okay, now we'll get rid of Trent Baalke because are we really going to hire Robert Saleh? Like, come on. Were they really going to hire Robert Saleh? Imagine through all this, you get rid of Baalke, okay, fans are somewhat happy, and then you hire Robert Saleh. Stop it. You couldn't do that. Or even Joe Brady, like at least it's a young, innovative offensive mind, but he's the third young, innovative offensive mind in this cycle. So the Jaguars got a guy that fans are happy with, but how they got there, which fans probably don't care about, is really sloppy. Now, the next piece of news that we get to in the coaching cycle. Raiders. Stu, how you doing today? You know, you wear your Raiders gear whenever the Raiders aren't in the news or whenever we're laughing at the Raiders. Today, you're wearing a Los Angeles Lakers shirt. You look like you could play for them. They may need you to probably get
they beat the Celtics by double digits last night.
Oh, okay. So Stu's back in on his Lakers after beating the Celtics in an irrelevant regular season game.
Well, that's probably true. But
your reaction on Pete Carroll?
Very happy. I thought there'd be ways that they would mess this up. I thought Ben Johnson would be the best candidate for the job. Obviously, he didn't want to go there. Don't even blame him for that. But I think Carroll was the next guy on the list where you get a guy that's established. Sure, he's in his 70s, but at least you change the culture, begin to change the culture, and I think Carroll's the, pretty much a perfect guy to do that.
I have a few reactions and a few thoughts on this. So, Tom Brady flexes his muscle. Tom Brady really flexed his muscles here because he got a coach who's a really damn good coach, a coach who's going to be a Hall of Famer in a situation that, let's just call it what it is, it's less than ideal. Yeah, you have Brock Bowers. Yes, you got Max Crosby. Outside of that, there's not a lot there. And you don't have a quarterback, and you play in a division when you're looking up, you're staring at Andy Reid, you're staring at Jim Harbaugh, and you're staring at Sean Payton. So I don't think they get a coach like Pete Carroll if it's not for Tom Brady being there. With that being said, though, Pete Carroll does turn 74 when the season starts. Pete Carroll's not a spring chicken, even though he looks a lot younger than what he is. But it's amazing how addicted to coaching Pete Carroll is. Because if I'm 74, I'm not still trying to work. I'm trying to sit on a beach, play some golf, drink some beer, eat some food, and enjoy what I've built in my life and be able to live off the money that I've made. And Pete Carroll, here's a hot take of the day, doesn't need the money. But this dude is addicted to coaching, and he's taking a job that is not an ideal job because he loves it so much. And now the part that I'm most fascinated about is who's playing quarterback for him this year. Because they're at 6. Could you get Shedeur Sanders if he falls? I doubt he's falling to 6. You're probably going to have to use future resources and move up. We know Brady loves Shedeur. But take Shedeur out of the conversation for a second. Because it's not likely that Shedeur is on the Raiders this upcoming season. You got 2 veterans out there. Sam Darnold, I could see being the next quarterback of the Raiders. I could see Pete getting Sam this offseason. You pair him up with the wide receiver out of Arizona with the 6th overall pick, and you got Brock Bowers. At least you have something to work with. You're not going to win a Super Bowl. You may not go to the playoffs, but at least you could be a competent football team with Pete Carroll as your coach and those pieces around him. Or maybe you go back to your roots and someone that you believed in a whole lot, and I know it was an ugly ending, but maybe that guy realizes, I need Pete Carroll a lot more than what I thought I needed him because I overplayed my hand when I was leaving Seattle. Russell Wilson's out there. And Russell Wilson supposedly was interested in the Raiders last offseason, and he found his way to the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to cost you basically nothing. Maybe you get the band back together for 1 year where you don't have to give Sam Darnold, right? If you have to get him, it's 3 or 4 years, so then you don't give him a 3-4 year contract. You get Russ to be a placeholder for a year until you get your quarterback in the draft next offseason. I think those are 2 options on the table, either Sam Darnold or Russell Wilson. But I'm really blown away that Pete Carroll, I'm not shocked that he took the job. We all know he wanted to return. He never wanted to leave Seattle. But you're about to be 74. and this is the job that you take. And I'll give you one more take off this. I wonder what Belichick's thinking today. Because don't get me wrong, I saw Belichick was in a high school gym recruiting today. You know that Bill Belichick wanted to return to the NFL last year. I think he was annoyed that he thought he was getting the Falcons job, and then Arthur Blank said no at the last minute. But Bill Belichick, if Pete Carroll's getting a job in this cycle, I would think that then Brady would have hired Bill Belichick, and supposedly Brady reached out to Belichick, but he was already at UNC. And I know Jets fans, you could tell me, oh, well, Bill left us at the altar many years ago, so why wouldn't he leave UNC? And it only cost the Raiders $10 million right now to get Bill away from the UNC Tar Heels. But you're telling me Bill Belichick wouldn't have got a job this cycle, especially when there's still two jobs open, and one of them are the Cowboys, and the other are the New Orleans Saints. So I would say if Bill is truthful, like Lombardi, right, is already sending out there, we say bleep the NFL, we make fun of the NFL right now. That's because Mike Lombardi is a mouthpiece for Bill Belichick, and he's his press secretary. He's not the GM of UNC football. He is the press secretary for Bill Belichick. You know, I don't know who sleeps closer to Bill, the girlfriend or Mike Lombardi, if I'm being honest. But either way, Lombardi could say all those things. You know down deep, if the hoodie, who I love, was sitting right next to me, and we put a truth detector, a lie detector on him, and he said, yeah, I want to be a part of UNC over the NFL, that would be a lie, sir. So those are my thoughts on the crazy coaching carousel with Liam Coen getting his frequent flyer miles in, or maybe just the rent-a-car miles in from Duval to Tampa Bay, just driving across Florida. And then also Pete Carroll, old man Pete, who does not look that old. Like, hearing him as 74, about to be 74, is kind of crazy because he acts like he's 60, right? I think that would be, when you look at Pete Carroll, you think he's in his 60s. Pete winding back up with the Raiders with no plan at quarterback right now, and Belichick has to be kicking himself. All righty, that's what's on the table for you. We're talking coaching carousel, 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. Two quarterbacks have the most pressure on them this weekend in all the players that are playing in the NFL Conference Championship games. We'll tell you who those two quarterbacks are when the Zach Gelb Show returns in a few moments. Once again, Maggie Gray is going to join us an hour from now for NFL picks, and Drue Tranquill, who will be playing in the AFC Championship game with the Kansas City How About Those Chiefs, is going to stop by at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific time.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
We have a statement from Liam Coen. This is from Peter Schrager. Becoming the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars is an opportunity of a lifetime, and one that I'm going to run with to instill a championship culture and winning tradition here in Duval. This doesn't happen without the support and opportunities that my family and I have been afforded throughout my career, especially during this past season in Tampa Bay. We thank Todd Bowles for his continued support and the entire Buccaneers organization for the experience, and know they will have success ahead. Most of all, we are grateful to Shad Khan for his belief in what we will bring to the Jaguars. We will work tirelessly to reward his confidence. As head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, I will hire a first-class coaching staff, establish a distinctive and effective brand of football on both sides of the ball, and our players will live for the black and teal. I don't know about you, Stu. I'll read the rest of the statement. Like, there's certain teams like silver and black, Raiders. If you want to go black and yellow, like with Wiz Khalifa, black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think anyone has ever really is like, oh, the black and teal. I was going to say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a second. He's taking the Jaguars job. I know the Bucs are red. I've never heard anyone go Jaguars. Yeah, we'll live for the black and teal. That's bizarre.
I've never heard of that in my life. Yeah. Never.
You know, they'll try to stop the black and teal. Just never. Shad and Jaguars fans should expect nothing less, and that's what we plan to deliver and more. My wife, Ashley, and our family are honored to be here and a part of the Jacksonville community. We are ready to get to work. What are your thoughts on how this came about, Stu? Because, yes, the Jaguars ultimately get one of their top two candidates that were realistic for them, because I did think that Ben Johnson was realistic for them and Ben wanted the job, but then they wouldn't get Trent Baalke. But then when Liam Coen balked at the job first, then Balky was out. And then Liam Coen, who was going back to Tampa, was like, hold on, turn around the car. We almost are getting right back to Tampa Bay. We're going back to Duval, and then I'll take your job. And, oh, yeah, you're going to have to pay me more. What a wild sequence.
Yeah, just chaos, and it just makes you realize. I know they wound up getting a guy that they wanted, so that's all fine, all good, but the ownership's just a nightmare. I know they got him, so it's fine, but that still doesn't really change the fact that they are poorly run.
Do you think people are now... Usually people just don't have an opinion on the Jaguars, right? You think people are now rooting against the Jaguars because of Liam Coen? I've had no reason to root against Liam Coen. I'm still not rooting against Liam Coen, to be clear. But at least on the social media reaction to this, people don't like that he made up his mind, said, I'm going back to Tampa Bay. Then the Jaguars really gave him what he want. And then it's like, okay, I'm going to take the Jaguars job. Like, I kind of get it where you're not going to, hey, if you're in a position to negotiate, you negotiate, even if it makes you come off looking cocky and overconfident, and you may be doing something where it's like, dude, you're still Liam Coen at the end of the day. Like, you were bouncing around Kentucky and the Rams the last few years. You were in Tampa for a year. I get it now. You are somewhat of a commodity, but walking in there as if, you're Belichick or you're Andy Reid or Sean McVay, like, pump the brakes a little bit. But he's in position to do that, and there was a team that he took advantage of. And that was a team in the Jaguars that he wasn't going to take their job until he got everything that he wanted. That was Trent Baalke going on out there. And then they were willing to give him Ben Johnson money, which is wild that that's even a term, Ben Johnson money, but that's the way that it's been reported. But the fact that he went from interviewing in one place, fine, going back to the other place, and then going back to the place that you originally said no to, and giving the other place the indication of, oh, yeah, I'm coming back, and I guess they were ghosted unless if Todd Bowles just didn't tell anyone in the organization because he didn't want to get fired and have Liam Coen replace him. I can understand why that rubs some people the wrong way, but at the end of the day, he's going from being an offensive coordinator to a head coach. So you may not like how it happens, Stu, but I'm not going to hold it against him. Maybe people will root for him to fail, but when this comes down to a head coaching job, I kind of get it, and I can't really crush him. He could have been cleaner in this process, but I can't crush him for ultimately departing, being the offensive coordinator at Tampa Bay to be the head coach of the Jaguars. Yeah,
there's 32 of these, and these jobs are at such a premium. And who's to say that next year he's the coordinator of the Bucs and Baker falls off and they don't have a good year, and then he might not even get a head coaching job again, or one that's as desirable as this one with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know. He maybe could have handled it a little better, but at the same time, like, I don't blame him for taking the job. Not at all.
Yeah, because you look at jobs that could potentially be open next year. Like, this is way too early to be doing this. But if you went through all the jobs in the NFL, like the Bills, they love Sean McDermott. Could Miami be open with Mike McDaniel a year from now? Possible. The Jets, no. The Patriots, no. The Ravens, doubtful. Steelers, doubtful. Bengals, possibility. Browns, with Stefanski, possibility. Texans, no. Colts, possibility. Titans, possibility with the new GM coming on in. And Callahan then would be through year 2. So right there, only through 3 division. That's at least 5 jobs that are possible. AFC West, Chiefs, no. Chargers, no. Broncos, no. Raiders now, no. NFC East, I would say Eagles, no. Commanders, no. Cowboys, no. Giants, possibility. Lions, no. Vikings, no. Packers, no. Bears, no. Tampa Bay, potential, and that's where you could have been. Atlanta, maybe 2 years of Raheem Morris. Carolina, I would say no. Saints, no. Rams, no. Seahawks, no. Cardinals, possibility. And the San Francisco 49ers, I would say no. So some jobs that are intriguing. Like Miami, I don't love Tua, but he's a top 15 quarterback in the league. Cincinnati would be a coveted job, even though that organization is run by a bunch of cheap people. And that's me saying it nicely. I was going to say a bunch of cheap bastards, but I know I just said it, but that I think would have been a little bit over the top. But you got a little cheap people running the Bengals, but still you got Joe Burrow and you got Jamar Chase. And I don't think people are dying to go to Cleveland. So you look at the job right now, it's a good job, Jacksonville. The owner may only be able to win 30% of his games, but you have Trevor Lawrence, and I would think that Liam Coen believes that he just needs Trevor Lawrence to be healthy, and he'll put him in a more modern offense. And you got a star wide receiver, right? A guy that, if he's as good as he was in his rookie year, moving on forward for the rest of his career and gets better and better, man, those LSU wide receivers, they know how to be great in the NFL. And you got a good pass rusher in Josh Hines Allen, and you got to see what you get out of Trayvon Walker moving forward. And more importantly, you look at this division, the only team that intimidates you somewhat are the Texans. And the Texans just fired Bobby Slowick, their offensive coordinator. So there's still questions they could take that next step. You know, this Jaguars team, I get it, they were 4-13, right? But 2 years ago, they won a playoff game. 3 years ago, they won a playoff game. Then they got off to a great start. Trevor got hurt, and then they faltered down the stretch. And then this past year, the rug kind of got pulled out from underneath them. So it's a job where we may not look at the Jaguars as a good job in terms of reputation, but with what they have, I thought before I knew that Balky was coming back and then eventually gets fired, I thought this was the best job in the market if I was a young coach looking to get a job. So, yes, could there be better jobs next year? Yeah, but that's assuming that Zach Taylor gets fired with the Bengals, where Zach Taylor's been to a Super Bowl. Marvin Lewis went to the playoffs for years, couldn't win a damn game. And look, Marvin Lewis was kept along in Cincinnati. And what happens if Mike McDaniel makes the playoffs next year? So some of these jobs that would have been attractive, it's still not a foregone conclusion that they would be there next year. So I think he was in a no-lose situation, Liam Coen. You get a job right now at great money, or you go back and you put yourself maybe as the top candidate next cycle. Like, if Liam Coen stayed, Ben Johnson off the board, Mike Vrabel off the board, as long as established coaches aren't getting let go, like a Mike Tomlin, like a, John Harbaugh, I'd be curious what the status would be as Stefanski if he got let go, because that's a 2-time coach of the year. I don't know how many names are going to be better than Liam Coen in the next cycle. If Belichick wanted to get back in, potentially, but now he's already 2 years removed. So he could have had his pick of his jobs, but it's still a good enough job right now where they also gave you what you wanted, which was the GM getting let go. All righty, let's do this. When you take a glance at this weekend, you got Josh Allen and you also got Jalen Hurts. Stu, I don't think there's two players under more pressure this weekend than Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. The injury concern with Jalen Hurts, and then for Josh Allen, I would be very surprised on Monday if the Bills lose, whether it's on him or not, if we're not talking about Josh Allen in the first segment. Are there any two players this weekend, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, that are under more pressure when you look at all these players in the NFL?
No, I don't think it's even close. I think it's Allen, and then there's a little gap, and then it's Hurts, and then there's a huge gap.
Because there's no player on the Commanders that's really under pressure.
No.
And you look at the Chiefs, like, if they lose, okay, you just won back-to-back championships. So, yes, you didn't get the job done in going back-to-back-to-back and being the first team to ever do that. Now, here's the thing. I think there could be one other person under more pressure. Any idea who that would be?
I would think that would be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm actually going to go
Bills.
Sean McDermott.
Interesting.
Like, if we're sitting here on Monday and we're not talking about Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts in terms of why a team lost, I could see us talking about McDermott, because how many times in these postseason games with Josh Allen has Josh Allen played well, but something happened defensively or something happened on special teams? But bringing up Sirianni's, like, those are going to be one of the 4 talking points on Monday. If we're looking for negative storylines, right? Bills lose, Eagles lose. One of those 4 people, when I say chopping block, I don't mean they're all going to lose their job, because we know Josh Allen's not going anywhere. But Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Sean McDermott, Nick Sirianni, going to be a big part of the conversation. All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Is Zach not here today? He's remote? Okay, so let's send it to Rich Ackerman with the latest Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Infinity Sports Network, Sports Flash.
And we begin with a riddle sponsored by Progressive Insurance. What do your home and auto have in common? Progressive protects them both. It was an easy riddle. Learn more at Progressive.com. Pete Carroll clearly wasn't ready for retirement and still feels he has a lot left in the tank. The 73-year-old has been named the new head coach of the Raiders, getting a 3-year deal. He inherits a team that was 4-13 a year ago. The Jaguars officially named Bucs offensive coordinator Liam Coen their new head man. Bobby Slowick was a hot coaching candidate this time a year ago. He's now out in Houston. The Texans have moved on from their offensive coordinator, while Patrick Mahomes is playing in his 7th straight AFC championship, and the Chiefs looking to take another step toward a three-peat. And here are the Bills again. Buffalo won the regular season meeting, but is 0-4 on the road under Sean McDermott in the playoffs, and Mahomes hopes that streak continues as he embraces the intensity of this rivalry.
When you play great football teams like that, it kind of usually ends with kind of that split type of deal there. And so we've been able to beat them in the playoffs, and they've gotten us in the regular season. But if you look at the games, every game's close. So it just comes down to a play here or there that kind of usually it makes an impact on the outcome.
The Bills' secondary takes a big hit with Taylor Rapp out with a hip injury. This game will follow the third meeting of the year between the Commanders and Eagles, who split each of the first two. I'm Rich Ackerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's time to ask the pros. You're the listener gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF SportsCenter at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Just getting back to the Raiders selection of Pete Carroll here real quickly. So it's a 3-year deal for Pete Carroll. So I heard Diana Rossini say this, and I kind of agree with her. I think this is kind of, you bring in Pete just to get this Raiders organization back up off the ground. And if it ends up really working, well, then Pete's 74 in September. You know, is it crazy to have him coaching for 5 more years? Like, no, I don't think it's crazy. Once you get past 80, though, that's when it gets a little bit crazy. Even though Pete doesn't come off as if he's someone that's about to turn 74. But now the biggest question is, what do they do at quarterback? And I think Brady would prefer Shedeur Sanders. But if you can't get Shedeur at 6 and you don't want to trade future resources or can't get a deal done to move up in the draft, and let's say Cam Ward doesn't fall as well, Stu, isn't the decision right now Sam Darnold on a 3 or 4 year deal with outs maybe in it, or you structure it front loaded so you can get out of it, it doesn't crush you at the end? Or would you be inclined for 1 year, since this is kind of get off the ground and your expectations aren't high, being in a division with Sean Payton and being in a division with Jim Harbaugh and obviously the great Andy Reid, would you consider a little Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson reunion and punting on the quarterback kind of situation for another year by bringing in Russ?
Another year, yes. Yeah, those are probably the two most likely scenarios, I think. I think Darnold, look, like you said.
Which one do you prefer?
I think Russ, only because of how little it'll cost compared to Darnold. I think Darnold's the slightly better quarterback, but I think Russ gives them more flexibility going forward. Even if they do structure a contract that isn't too uncap friendly.
He's basically there for 2 years. I would say, like, if it's a 3 or 4 year deal and you structure it appropriately,
2 years is what you're paying him.
He's probably there for 2 years. So could you get, you know, next year an Arch Manning in the draft or Drew Aller or whoever the quarterback is?
I guess it wouldn't prevent them, yeah.
Like, yeah, because you could have them sit for another year. Or we've even saw it this year. It was year 1 of Kirk Cousins. At the end of the year, Michael Penix Jr. was starting. But if the idea is to, okay, we're acknowledging we're not going to get the quarterback this year in the draft, we're better off doing so next year, then I do think it behooves them to bring in Russ rather than Sam Darnold. But I also may think Brady, how competitive he is, and Pete Carroll, how competitive he is, will agree with you and will be like, okay, in the year of 2025, even though neither are great quarterbacks, Sam is more productive than Russell Wilson. So let's go get Sam on a 4-year deal, make it look like we have a commitment to a quarterback for the future, even if we're moving on in a few years, and we go get an offensive weapon at 6, and then you got something to work with if you have like the Arizona wide receiver at 6, Brock Bowers, and then you got Sam Darnold throwing the football to try to get you to like 8 wins or something like that. I think the better decision is actually bringing in Russell Wilson, which I did not think I would say that before the show started, and making it a 1-year deal, kicking the can, and this is what the Raiders have done ever since getting rid of Derek Carr. They've been the kick the can down the road organization when it comes to the quarterback, but then reevaluating the QB position a year from now, trying to get younger and get a long-term guy in there. Because Sam, yes, he could be viewed as the long-term guy, but you know it, and I know it, right? Mono Sam, seeing Ghost Sam pop back up in what was a very good year for him in the last 2 weeks of the season. I don't think anyone ever views Sam Darnold as a franchise quarterback. All righty, without further ado, and I'm not talking about Freddie Adu, it is time to update you on some of the biggest stories in the world of sports with some audio. Let's get to a news brief.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
I'll modify the tweet from Bella B, but it's a good tweet. How are people up in arms about a head coach being 73 when the president is 78? I never thought about it this way, and I'm not getting into politics because we are a sports show here. Adam Schefter on Liam Coen's situation with the Bucs leaving them and then going to Jacksonville. Pat McAfee Show.
In 20 years, this century, I don't remember the last time I heard one team this hot and bothered about a coach taking another deal. Like, they were hot. But by the way, his side is like, we didn't do anything wrong. We were exploring our rights. We took this contract. We let them know. Again, you believe what you want to believe. I'm just the messenger. I'm trying to be fair to everybody here, and it's not easy because there's a lot of different versions of how this is going down.
Let's go to Richard Sherman on Pete Carroll potentially going to the Raiders. We now know he is the next Raiders coach. This courtesy of the Richard Sherman podcast.
I don't love it. Pete wants to coach. This is probably his best opportunity that he's going to get. Yeah, I want him to take it. I think he'll find a quarterback. You know what I mean? He's shown he could do it with a young quarterback. Yeah, I think he could get them in, and having him back in the same division as Jim Harbaugh would just be a little bit of hilariousness for me, and I need a little bit of hilariousness in my life. Nothing like a good laugh.
I admire, Stu, how Richard Sherman could always make a situation about himself. I get it, right? You're talking about Pete Carroll. That's your former coach. But then you remember those rivalries with Jim Harbaugh and Pete Carroll, San Francisco and Seattle. And also, we all know Richard Sherman is not too fond of his former college coach in Jim Harbaugh. So how that all kind of went down, it's funny the axe that Richard Sherman still grinds to this day over really something that doesn't have anything to do with him when it comes to Pete taking the job with the Raiders. Let's go to Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. I guess they were working out together, throwing together, and they responded to the new GM of the Tennessee Titans, Mike Borgonzi, talking about how you don't pass up on a generational talent in the draft.
Listen, I'm a generational talent. I'm going to prove him right. I'm going to prove him right. Don't worry.
Oh, my gosh. This is more and more.
Hey, that's how I knew it. Who said that? Actually, nah. An article came out today. I'm generational. So I guess it's article versus article. I like that you think that, man. But we all know the truth. What? Trav gonna be first? They know it's been. They know it's been. Just like I told Joe. He don't know what that pressure like.
I wouldn't say Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward are generational. But if you're drafting a quarterback and you're Tennessee, you're going to sell them as generational. I don't know, Stu. I think it's been fascinating. And I do think Abdul Carter is a great pass rusher. That's what I want the Patriots to get it for. And Travis Hunter is considered the generational player of this draft. But even with what Borgonzi said and how many misleading messages there are from now until the draft, the people now assume Tennessee is going to pass up on a quarterback. Like when push comes to shove, are they really going to pass up with the first? If they keep the pick, are they really going to pass up on taking a quarterback? I still find that hard to believe.
Especially if they keep the pick, you know.
Yeah.
And it's we're so far out. All this stuff is going to get thrown into a blender, and later on we're going to be like, oh, that's probably silly.
Yeah, a week ago I thought it was a lock the Patriots get Abdul Carter. Now everyone's telling me they can't get Abdul Carter. Like, I still think it's quarterbacks, first 2 picks, and then Travis Hunter is taken within the first 3 picks. So the first 3 picks of the draft, I think it'd be 2 quarterbacks and Travis Hunter. Let's go to Cam Newton. He was on the ESPN on First Take. He actually calls out Shedeur Sanders.
The thing about Shedeur, I am the guy that's been pushing him to the greatness. But Shedeur also does not want to be challenged. There's been history there, and I've always challenged Shedeur publicly and to him in ways that, like, bro, I want to see the best version of Shedeur. Shedeur has always played in a very convenient situation.
Okay.
I've said that numerous times. So I don't have no beef.
Okay,
I don't have no
I'm
quarrel.
not
So I thought it was fascinating there, too, and we didn't hear it in that clip, but there was a follow-up to it where Cam was like, or Stephen A. said to Cam, well, what are you hearing specifically about Shedeur? And when Cam's saying, like, he doesn't respond to criticism well, or he doesn't like to be told what to do, and Cam really had nothing. Like, you make a claim in that ballpark, you got to have something. And I think Cam and Shedeur were once close, and then I saw that video before the game this year where Travis Hunter and Shedeur kind of ignored Cam, and then I've seen other videos as well. Something happened there. I don't know what happened, but for Cam to make that claim on ESPN, you had to have something more tangible compared to what he had. Finally, here's Marcus J. Spears on ESPN on Jimmy Butler's wish list, now obviously getting suspended once again in Miami and wanting out still.
I was told today from someone close to the situation that his wish list is just out of Miami, with exception to Memphis. He doesn't want to go to Memphis, but he does want to finish his career wherever he goes.
Anywhere but Memphis. I've been to Memphis once for a wedding. I had a very good time in Memphis. Good barbecue. Really good. One of the best brunches I've ever had after a wedding. For a wedding brunch, they had like biscuits and gravy and sausage. It was good. So I don't see why Jimmy Butler wouldn't want to go to Memphis, but anywhere but Memphis. You're leaving Miami. That's tough to go to Miami to Memphis, I will say. But I kind of hope that they just throw Jimmy Butler with the Suns. You know, just have a bunch of miserable teammates in a disaster situation in Phoenix. All righty, we'll take a break. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Maggie Gray going to join us at 4:20 p.m. Eastern. Drue Tranquill of the Kansas City Chiefs going to join us at 5. When we come on back, the most important non-quarterbacks this weekend. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, another one bites the dust. We know this. Pete Carroll to the Raiders, Liam Coen to the Jaguars. So 5 out of the 7 jobs are filled. Ben Johnson to the Bears, Mike Vrabel to the Pats, Liam Coen to the Jags, Pete Carroll to the Raiders, and Aaron Glenn to the Jets, Jets. That means you got 2 jobs left out there. I think most of us anticipate that Brian Schottenheimer is going to be the next coach of the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. That is the expectation. And the Saints, I don't think anyone knows. I think most people from afar would say that it's Mike McCarthy, but it doesn't seem as with the actual Saints organization that there is traction for Mike McCarthy. So who knows? That's going to be, I think that's the biggest mystery. And I don't think it's a mystery that anyone really cares about. It's not like an intense mystery, right? Like a murder mystery when you watch one of those specials. It's like 20 years later, you find out and people have been waiting for answers for 20-something years. The Saints, they could hire a coach and it's like, okay, fine. I'd be curious what the reaction is and who they end up hiring. But you look at that team, you have some older players on it. They're not a dreadful team, but right now the Saints feel like they're an irrelevant brand. That's the way that I kind of look at the Saints. You know, what's the selling point on the Saints right now? You know, at least the Raiders have Tom Brady, so that made them attractive, even though they weren't really attractive. Let's be real. The Saints are a 5-win football team this year, but in like most parts, it feels like they could be anywhere at their worst, probably like 4 or 5. You know, at their best, maybe 9. But Stu, doesn't it feel that the Saints have kind of been stuck recently ever since Drew Brees left, kind of being in that window of 7 to 9 wins. Like, you're never really bad, but you're never really good ever since Drew Brees elected to walk away for that organization, and also Sean Payton.
Yeah, just so mediocre, and that's, when you have Derek Carr as your quarterback, I guess that's kind of what you're getting. The first couple weeks of the season, they're putting up a lot of points, got a couple wins.
Remember, people thought they were going to be great? Like,
yeah.
early on, they started off the year 2-0. They had that game up against the Cowboys. People were, like, really buying into the Saints. Like, I remember I had people on the weekends when we're on WWL in New Orleans, and I was like, I don't really believe in the Saints. They were like, oh, yeah, well, now they're 2-0. Look what Derek Carr just did to the Cowboys. And I didn't hear from those great Saints fans for the rest. They went from the Saints back to the Aints, if we're being honest, after those first few weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's just very meh.
Yeah.
Just not interesting, not very good. I don't know. It's just.
Have you ever seen the meme online when the guy is like, has a stick and he's poking and he's like, do something?
Oh, of course.
That's the Saints. It's like, all right, you guys going to do something ever? But you look since Brees left, right? They were 12-4 with Brees. They lose that playoff game actually when they won the division in 2020 to Brady and the Bucs. They lose that postseason game. After the game, Brady's on the field playing catch with Drew Brees' kids after beating him in the playoffs. It's Brees and Brady playing catch with Brees' kids as Brady's advancing to the divisional round, I want to say. Or was that a conference championship round? No, they advanced a conference championship round because they beat the Eagles. Then they ended up beating the Saints, and then they advanced to go play the Green Bay Packers. And then they walked in, and Aaron Rodgers got 3 interceptions in the second half from the Bucs, and Rodgers still couldn't do anything with it. So you go from that to then Sean Payton stayed there for one more year. They were 9-8. Then after that, Dennis Allen in. Andy Dandy Dalton was basically their quarterback for that 2022 season. They were 7-10, which, considering what they had, 7-10 is not horrible. Then last year, they were supposed to win that division. They didn't. They were 9-8. And then the carpet got pulled out from underneath them this year, and they were 5-12. They are in a. Who is a more irrelevant team right now than the Saints in the NFL? 855-212-4227. We want your huge opinions. It's a Friday Huge Show right here on the Infinity Sports Network. If you know, you know, going back to our days at CBS Sports Radio. It's a Saturday night huge show. Going through all 32 teams here. Stu, I'm going to give you the team. You tell me yes or no. Are they more irrelevant than the Saints?
Sure.
Bills?
No.
Dolphins?
No.
Jets?
No.
Patriots?
No.
Chiefs?
No.
Chargers?
No.
Broncos?
No.
Raiders?
It's close. It's close, but no.
Yeah, I feel like it's not good to have this, but the Raiders are more like, okay, we're amused by them. We can laugh at some of their stupidity. Ravens?
No.
Steelers?
No.
Bengals?
No.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Hoo, hoo.
Again, close, but no.
Yeah, they're in the news for a lot of the wrong reasons these days, I would say. Texans?
No.
Colts?
No.
Yeah, their owner at least makes it entertaining. Jaguars?
No.
Titans?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one. That's the first one that came to my mind was the Titans.
Gotcha. But at least they have the number 1 overall pick.
That's true. So that could change some things.
So Tennessee's in the possibility. Like
yes.
they're one of your yeses. Eagles?
No.
Commanders?
No.
Cowboys?
No.
Giants?
Yeah, that's another one I thought of. I think the Giants are in that same boat.
Okay. Rams?
No.
Seahawks?
No.
Cardinals?
Cardinals are interesting. I know they have Harrison, so that might take him out of this, but they would be in the running for me.
Yeah, they're a little bit better because at least you have something in Kyler Murray, but I wouldn't say that Kyler Murray is a franchise quarterback.
Right.
They're almost the Saints of the NFC West, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're in the running. 49ers?
No.
Lions?
No.
Vikings?
No.
Packers?
No.
Bears?
No.
Bucks?
No.
Falcons?
No.
Panthers? Bryce Young makes them interesting.
Yeah, it makes them a little more interesting that they have Bryce Young.
So,
I'd say no.
Not even a handful of teams that you could really give me. Shows you, man, just how irrelevant those Saints are. All righty, let's do this right now. So Maggie Gray is going to join us coming up in about 10 minutes. We'll do NFL picks with Maggie. Also get where she's at on her Buffalo Bills. Drue Tranquill is going to join us from the Kansas City Chiefs. That's what we do. We get players involved, people associated with these big games all the time. Drue Tranquill of the Chiefs is going to join us at 5 p.m. Eastern. So in about 50 minutes from now, you don't want to miss that. Let's go back and forth here, Stu. Take the quarterbacks out of it. So no Mahomes, no Josh Allen, no Jaden Daniels, and no Jalen Hurts. You give me the most important non-quarterback coming up in the games on Sunday. I will start with the Chiefs. I think this will surprise some people, right? Because I think people expect me to say Chris Jones or George Karlaftis or Travis Kelce or Taylor Swift or the referees even potentially. I'm going to say it's Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton has made some big plays in the postseason before. He's had a good start to his career, and you're going up against a dual-threat mobile quarterback, middle of the field. Very important. I think linebackers are very important. I'm going to say Nick Bolton this week on the best unit for the Chiefs, which actually isn't their offense. It's their defense. So that's where I'm starting off with.
All right, I am also going with a defensive player for the Chiefs, and I am going with George Karlaftis. He had a great game last week against the Texans, had 3 sacks. I think they're going to have to get after Josh Allen a bit, contain him when he runs the ball. So obviously a guy like Karlaftis is going to be kind of important for that. So I think he's definitely a guy that could fit that mold.
Fascinating that none of us took Chris Jones. And maybe because it's like the easy one, like, oh, you don't want to go Jones, you don't want to go Kelce. It's so easy peasy. But Chris Jones, you could argue, when you look at the success of the Chiefs dynasty, that after Mahomes and Reed, that Chris Jones is right up there. With how many clutch, game-changing plays. Like, I love Kelce. And Kelce's made a bunch of clutch, huge catches and big touchdowns. But you look at that first Super Bowl up against the Niners, where he batted that ball down at the line of scrimmage. You look at this past year with the plays that he made late in the game. You know, planet players make planet plays, and Chris Jones makes a ton of them. So it's weird that we both went defensive players and none of us went with Chris Jones. Bills. I'll start you off, Stu. Who's your Buffalo Bill one here?
My Buffalo Bill player is Cole Bishop. He is a safety, and he is going to play this week because of the injury, of course, to Taylor Rapp, who is now out. So my thinking here is that when stopping the Chiefs, especially in the playoffs, the key is going to be limiting Travis Kelce. So the safety play is going to be key. And obviously, you know, being a first-time starter guy taking over for Rapp, it's going to be tough. Like, he's going to have to probably get matched up against Kelce a few times. So he could really be a key player, I think, for the Bills on Sunday.
I'll tell you, Stu, I am very impressed by that. You could have given me a bunch of guesses. I would say, maybe you say James Cook if we're not going quarterbacks. You know, is it a Dalton Kincaid, a Dawson Knox, a friend of the show, Deion Dawkins? Maybe it's Gregory Rousseau, AJ Epinesa, Von Miller. Ever heard of him? Ed Oliver. For some reason, I always feel like when you say Von Miller, you got to go Von Miller. But I was not expecting Cole Bishop. Was not expecting that. I was like, hold up, wait a minute. I'm going Von Miller. And you saw Von have that big scoop last week on the recovery. But I say Von Miller because of this. I remember a few years ago before Von Miller got hurt, when the Chiefs were playing the Bills, and this was in the regular season, Von Miller came off the edge, and he forced Mahomes to hurry. He threw a pick to Taron Johnson in a regular season game. That ended the game in one of these last 4 victories for the Bills in the regular season up against the Chiefs. We all know the presence of Von Miller. Von Miller was brought in to be that missing piece for the Bills to get to a Super Bowl and win it the last few years. Obviously, he's been hurt. I think Von Miller is going to have an enormous game on Sunday and make a game-changing play. So I will go Von Miller there. All right, let's go to the Commanders. I think this will surprise some people. It's not a crazy name. It's not Cole Bishop. Let me tell you that. I'm going to go with friend of the show, Austin Eckler. I feel like whenever there's a prime time or a big game, Austin Eckler always has a touchdown or two. I know he missed some weeks because of the concussions, but he's been back recently, has done a nice job in one of those matchups that he was playing in up against the Eagles in receiving the ball. I don't know if his production's going to come running the football, but I think that he could have a few catches in this one, and I could see him getting into the end zone. So I know when we look at the Commanders, right, it's Jaden Daniels and it's Brian Robinson Jr., it's Terry McLaurin. You know, people will talk about Zach Ertz, too, with the return to Philadelphia, going up against the Eagles, a team he won a championship with. But I think it's Austin Eckler. If they're going to win this game, I could see Austin Eckler popping off as a receiving weapon out of the backfield and going and getting like 7 catches for 80 yards and maybe a tutty or 2.
Okay, so for me, I'm going to go with Bobby Wagner. Now, the reason I'm going with Bobby Wagner is obviously you're going up against Saquon Barkley, either the best or one of the best running backs in the sport, and that just absolutely dynamic running attack that the Eagles have. Now, the Commanders have one of the worst run defenses in the league, and I think they're bottom 5. So they're going to have to stop Barkley, Hurts on the ground. And I think Bobby Wagner, although he isn't the Legion of Boom Bobby Wagner, he's still a veteran presence in that middle of the field, so I think he's going to be pretty important for that.
All righty, we get to the Eagles, Stu. I'll let you go first.
So I'll go Vic Fangio. This is my one non-player. This is a coach.
Stu, you're really on one today. I would have. I thought, right? I make my picks first, and then I send them to Stu, and I go, Stu, go differently. We will peel back the curtain here, and we'll tell you a little bit how the sauce is made on this show. So I sent Stu Nick Bolton, Von Miller, Austin Eckler, and then I'll tell you my Eagle player is coming up in a bit. I say, tell me, people. I thought for sure for the Bills you were going to take Sean McDermott. I thought maybe if you're going to go coach Eagles, you would go with Nick Sirianni, but you end up going with Vic Fangio,
yes,
who I've learned, very superstitious, when it's going up the elevator or down the elevator to the press box in Lincoln Financial Field in the coaching box, he likes to stand, if you're in the back of the elevator, the back right of the elevator. Because a few weeks ago, I was standing in the back right corner, and they're like, coaches are coming. And one of the coaches said, you need to that's Vic's spot. And I was like, sorry, didn't know Vic had a spot in the elevator. No problem. I'll move my large ass over to the left. Vic, go ahead. You take the back right corner of the elevator. I don't know what that was, what that was about, but that's a superstition, I think, for one Vic Fangio. But anyway, tell me why you're going with the back right corner elevator guy in Vic Fangio.
Yeah, I just think that, look, you see what Jaden Daniels and the Commanders did against the Lions last week, putting up 45 points. I think the Eagles need to just limit that. Like, if they can hold them to, in the low 20s, mid-20s, I think they'll be fine type of thing. So I think they're just going to have a great game plan against Jaden Daniels. So I think a lot of that will fall on Fangio.
Mine's Saquon Barkley. Oh, real tough, Zach. You really went out on a limb there. I don't know the health of Jaden Daniels. Of Jalen Hurts, excuse me. We know that leg is banged up. I don't know how effective he will be. I do think Jalen Hurts gets too much criticism for how many games that he's won in Philadelphia. But what helps out a running back who's banged up? Well, getting protected well up front, and then also being able to hand the ball off to a running back who's at an MVP status in Saquon Barkley. And we all know what Saquon Barkley is capable of. So I would say my non-quarterback to watch in this one is Saquon Barkley. All righty, Zach Gelb here with you, Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, the great Maggie Gray is going to join us. We're going to get her picks for conference championship weekend, also get her lay of the land on the whole coaching search, and also delve into where she is at for her Buffalo Bills. Will Maggie be jumping off the treadmill through a table this week as the Buffalo Bills are advancing potentially to a Super Bowl? And talking about that AFC Championship game, sports fans, still to come at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific, from the Kansas City Chiefs. Linebacker, Super Bowl champion Drue Tranquill will join us right here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network across all the great local affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and also streaming live on YouTube. And you can always give us a call at 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. And you can give me a follow on Instagram and Twitter at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, gearing you up for Conference Championship weekend in the NFC at 3 p.m. Eastern Time in South Philadelphia. The Eagles are a 6-point favorite. The over-under is 47.5. You'll have the Eagles going up against the Washington Commanders. And then at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, you know, they have it on right now on the NFL Network, the 13-second game. And they are in overtime right now with it being 36-36. And I know how this game ends, but still, it's crazy when you look back and they're playing this game still running this back to the lead up of another edition of Bills and Chiefs, as we will see that 6:30 p.m. Eastern time coming up on Sunday on CBS. And right now the Kansas City Chiefs are a 2-point favorite, and the over-under is 48.5. We will do NFL picks here momentarily with Maggie Gray, who, of course, is one of the hosts of the Maggie and Perloff show right here on the Infinity Sports Network and is a massive Buffalo Bills fan. Drue Tranquill from the Chiefs, by the way, going to join us coming up at 5 p.m. Eastern time. And I think we will have Maggie ready, or we will get Maggie ready in a second or two, and she'll come on and she'll join us for a few moments right here on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. And now joining us, one of our favorite coworkers around here. You can listen to her and Andrew Perloff Monday through Friday from 6 to 10 a.m. Eastern time on many of these same stations. It is a huge Buffalo Bills fan and Maggie Gray. Maggie, how are you?
Zach, thank you so much. Keep telling me that. I'm the favorite of the show. Is that what I heard?
Did I say that?
Did you just say that? One of our favorites?
You know what?
I'll take it. I'll take any compliment.
I'll hitch my wagon to you rather than Perloff, because Perloff, I don't know where he's going to end up driving the wagon towards. I feel a lot more safer with you, if I'm just being honest.
Circle these wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Perloff's wagon going right off of a cliff. Actually, I feel better about the Philadelphia Eagles than he does, which is his team. He's a diehard Eagles fan, and I'm giving him all these reasons why they're going to beat the Commanders, and it's like he doesn't want to hear it. He thinks it's going to end with like Tanner McKee in some kind of third-string quarterback situation. We got to check on it. We got to do a wellness check on Perloff. He's not okay.
So you're confident. Like, we'll get to the pick in a bit, but you enter this weekend. Are you confident with the Bills, or is it I just know how these things usually end with your franchise?
Thank you, Zach. It ends always with a game that has a nickname.
Yeah.
Is anyone confident when they play the Chiefs? That feels a little bold. I would never be confident. I think that this is a really good chance for them to break through. Let's put it that way. They're there. They already beat the Ravens. This is going to be a really tough assignment for the Bills, but I think they're up for it. The last 3 times that the Chiefs have sent the Bills home in the playoffs, 2 out of the 3 have been one-score games. It's not like these are blowouts. They're usually close, and I think it could just come down to who has the ball last, because in past years, and maybe I'll knock on wood here, in past years, I think the Chiefs could always count on maybe Josh Allen trying to press, do too much, make a mistake. I think he's gotten a lot of that out of his system, to be fair, and you saw a good example of it in the Raven game when they're down at the goal line and for some reason run the stupid play of the Josh Allen sneak up the middle as so dumb. Tony Romo actually had it. Just do the double QB sneak. You would have been in the end zone. But anyway, he looked behind him and thought for a second to pitch the ball back, which would have led to probably a game with a nickname. That would have been the pitch or something like 13 Seconds or Music City Miracle or something like that. Or
they have quite a few. I hate to say it right now. I just leave whatever TVs you guys leave on in the studio. I don't really change the TV unless there's a game on. I guess you guys had the NFL Network on, and I hate to do this to you. They're replaying the 13-second game. It's 2nd and 6. Mahomes just completed a pass, I believe, to McCole Hardman. And the Chiefs are about to walk this off in overtime. So that's not good energy.
No, do you understand? I replay that game every night in my head. Zach, I know it play by play. But anyway, I guess the bottom line is I think Josh is smarter about taking care of the football. His stats are not nearly as good. If you're looking for him to throw for 300 yards, I don't think it's going to be that kind of game. I think it's going to come down to probably mistakes. Mahomes doesn't make them. So Josh can't make them either. Mm-hmm. My biggest 100% biggest fear is Sean McDermott.
Yeah, fair.
He gets tight. He gets tight in these big games. Every Bills fan knows it. And even if you're not a Bills fan, you're watching on TV. We're smart football fans now. He gets really tight. And so he's got to overcome beating his mentor in Andy Reid when it counts in the playoffs.
Well, maybe you get Philly Andy Reid, where there's a timeout issue, a clock management issue. I know Andy Reid's now considered one of the greatest coaches of all time. I think that Mahomes erases a lot of that and doesn't allow those things to happen, but maybe the old Andy Reid pops back up from the dead for you.
By the way, I got another theory about Andy Reid. Yes, when he was in Philadelphia, he was known as the guy who always kind of blew the end of a game. I think he's eating snacks at halftime. It might be nuggies. I don't know. I think the blood pressure, or not the blood pressure, the blood sugar was like dipping.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's come up with a way to like get a granola bar or something. All of a sudden, he's smarter. He's thinking clearly. Like, this is, I think I'm right about this.
By the way, the happiest I've ever been with you was actually this week. Because you guys do these great recap videos where it's like 3 things from the day. And you were actually doing like 3 things if you want to join Bill's Mafia. The fact that you went blue cheese over ranch, that's a big topic on this show. Stu's a loser. Santa's a loser. They like ranch. They're disgusting human beings. I can't believe management still makes me work with them. People that like ranch, it's disgusting. Cam Lewis of the Bills joined us, and he's a ranch over blue cheese guy. Like, that's just, I told him he better start eating blue cheese, because if they lose, I'm blaming him for the game.
Wow. I mean, I think totally different now about Cam and really that entire secondary now that you just mentioned that. That should not get out. Don't let that get out, by the way. That wouldn't be good for him. Yeah, my 3. Okay, so this is where this came from. I noticed that, and I'm sure you have too, there's like been a little Chiefs like fatigue.
Yeah.
Like there's a little backlash. It happens every time a team gets really successful, and all of a sudden people want to, like, they get kind of sick of them. So I noticed a few more people than usual trying to jump on the Bills bandwagon. And as one of the members of the executive branch of national media like Bills Mafia, I took it upon myself to create 3 rules, stipulations, criteria for any person who wants to join the Bills Mafia, whether it's just for the AFC Championship game or for the rest of your life. It doesn't matter. It's 3 things. Number 1, you've had to spend at least 1 winter in a cold place.
Fair.
October to May. You got to know the darkness. You've got to know the despair. You've got to have experienced cold weather. Number 2, any other team you've rooted for also must have had suffered heartbreak. Like, whatever your normal teams are, you had to have suffered heartbreak. Bonus points if that moment has a nickname. And then 3rd, you have to be a blue cheese over ranch person, because that's the only way it can happen. And that we lost a lot of people with the 3rd one.
Yeah, which is crazy to me. And Jonathan Taylor once explained this to me. He kind of thinks it's a north-south thing, where like if you live in the north, it's more blue cheese, and he's from Jersey, and if you live in the south, it's more ranch. And that's like a big character flaw for me. When I do these like pre-draft interviews, I always ask the players, I go ranch or blue cheese, and if they say ranch, I don't care who you are, I just take you off my draft board. So
wait, are you scouting for yourself, or are you scouting for Buffalo?
No, for myself.
Just you? Oh, okay.
I just think it's something I take him off the big board. Like, if you like ranch, I don't think you could be a great quarterback. So
listen, everyone's got their methods. Like, who's to say Mel Kiper hasn't been doing this since the 80s? He might have secretly been doing it. He eats weird stuff all the time, pumpkin pie, whatever. But here's the thing.
It's better than any question Jeff Ireland asked, like in some of those pre-draft process interviews, if we're being serious.
Oh, boy. Don't want to get canceled. Not touching that one. But the thing is about the north-south thing, you might be right about that, because does blue cheese really, like, it's not good in the heat.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think blue cheese with wings is good anytime, but, yeah, 100 degrees, that could get a little bit disgusting. All righty. Before I get to picks, let me just get your thoughts. Pete Carroll to the Raiders. Where do you kind of think of this one?
Okay, so I think this is a fine hire. I mean, you know you're not going to have him for 10 years, but like, let's walk before we can run here, Raiders. Like, get yourself back on track. Establish a culture, something that Pete can hand off where this is an appealing job. My biggest questions are, 1, who's going to be your quarterback? I've seen a lot of Russell Wilson. Like, apparently Pete Carroll and Russ may be mending some fences. If people were picking that up from the Pat McAfee interview with Russell Wilson, I think you were hearing what you wanted to hear. He said that he reached out and they flew out when he got fired in Seattle.
Yeah.
But does that mean they've really mended fences to the point where they could work together again? Didn't Russell Wilson try to get him fired? Like, that kind of stuff. You got to get to the bottom of that. And what's Russ going to do for you? Do you win 8 games? Maybe you win 8 games.
Well, here's the thing. So, like, Shador, I think, would be perfect for the Raiders. Cam Ward would be perfect, but they have to move up probably in the draft to get them sitting at 6. So if it's between Sam Darnold or Russell Wilson, I actually think, even though Sam's the better player, I would go Russ, just because it punts the decision until getting an actual quarterback until next year. If you're bringing in Sam Darnold, he's your quarterback even on a 4-year deal for like at least 2 years. and you get Russ just very cheap. Like, I get the relationship's not good, but it's slim pickings out there. It really is.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I do think that Russ would be cheaper, maybe more of a short-term option. Don't have to tie yourself to him. And by the way, here's the other thing that I took away from the Pete Carroll hire, which I hope Stu is happy about. Stu is a diehard Raider fan there. Okay, good. The other thing I took away was think of the 25 media jobs that Bill Belichick had to take to just show that he is a half human who's not a full curmudgeon in an attempt to get an NFL job. Bill Belichick called the Jets to see if there was an opening. Like, he backdoored Mike Tannenbaum, tried to get... Think about it. Think of all the hoops that Bill Belichick had to jump through and still got shut out. Meanwhile, Pete Carroll, good energy, treats people nicely, laid low for a year, boom. Tom Brady gave him a job.
You know what?
Like, if there's a message in there for, like, everyone to take. Just treat people well, and maybe you get second chances.
You Bills fans are really something. You know what? Do you respect your elders, Maggie Gray? You gotta leave Bill alone. Well, what did Bill Belichick ever do to you? Leave him alone, all right?
He did a lot to me, quite frankly. I feel personally aggrieved by how Bill Belichick abused the Buffalo Bills for most of my life.
But also, I think you would agree with this, and I know his press secretary, Mike Lombardi, is already fighting this notion that Bill still wants to be coaching in the NFL, which is baloney to me. If Bill would have waited, I still think he gets hired this cycle. He has to be kicking himself over taking this UNC job now.
Well, the Jaguars thing is the craziest part of that, right? Because they were going to stick with the GM and stick with Balky, and then all of a sudden, 24 hours ago, they're like, actually, get out. You're fired. And Liam Coen, who has no resume, like very little resume in the NFL, not no resume, but very little resume in the NFL. All of a sudden now he gets the job and he gets to pick the general manager. Like, this went from 0 to 60 really fast, and Belichick may have gotten that job.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. All righty, let's cue up the picks and let's get the music going right now.
It's time for NFL picks on the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, first game, Maggie. Eagles and Commanders. The Philadelphia Eagles are a 6-point favorite. I am laying the points here. You're going to have to sweat it out, though. Maybe I'll be getting on the treadmill during this game because I'm gambling with the Eagles, and I think they're only going to win the game by 7 points. I think this is going to be 27-20 in favor of, let me make sure I get this right, Eagles, Eagles, compared to how it was spelled earlier this week by the mayor. But I'm going Eagles here, 27-20.
Yeah, Zach, there's no way you're going to win an election in Philadelphia if you can spell things correctly. Obviously not. So you and I are simpatico here. I don't know if I have to pick against you, but I also laid the points. Perloff took the Commanders and the points. I told you he's a diehard Eagles fan, but he's so scared and afraid of what's going to happen. Scared of Jalen Hurts' inability to throw downfield right now, even before his knee got hurt. He thinks something's totally wrong with the offense and the Commanders are just going to stack the box and Barkley's going to be ineffective. I'm like, there's no evidence for that. Very little evidence for that. The last time the Commanders beat the Eagles, it was in Philadelphia. It was in Washington, and Kenny Pickett played 3/4 of the game. Like, that was not real. I think this is going to be the Eagles. It's not that I don't love the Jaden Daniels story, but there's a reason that no other rookie quarterback in the history of the league has gotten to a Super Bowl, and I think he's going to have his real work coming out for him. This is not the Lions that had 13 defensive players on IR and lost even more in that game, and who completely crapped out with Jared Goff throwing picks. This is a healthy Eagles defense. Good luck to you. I'm laying the points.
You know what? I've heard you saying that Perloff is not confident, and I know that you can't be overly confident. I kind of wish we did this segment yesterday because you guys don't have a show again until Monday. I would suggest, and this would be good for the YouTube stream as well, that we do a blue cheese baptism and a cheese whiz baptism to kind of get all the bad feelings around the two of you when it comes to your football teams. That's what I would have suggested.
Wait, hold on, Zach. You might get full credit because, well, if things work out the way we hope that they work out, please, football gods, we get Eagles-Bills. And we were wondering, what do we put on the line?
It's a good bet.
And that blue cheese whiz baptism that's really in our wheelhouse, man. You know us well.
And here's the thing. If you need a large individual to pick up the bucket and assist dumping the bucket of blue cheese or cheese whiz on someone, I I would gladly recommend my services. I would do it free of charge. The company wouldn't have to pay me an extra dime. I would even get up early and come in studio.
Wow, thank you. Wow, that type of sacrifice. That's really your true friend. You would wake up early to dump something disgusting over one of our heads.
I'd even bring breakfast. Zach. I'd bring breakfast too. I'd come with gifts.
Oh, stop. Too generous. Too generous.
All righty, final one. Bills, Chiefs. I'll let you go first. What do you got? Chiefs here.
I'm not
2-point
picking this
favorite.
game.
What do you mean?
I'm not picking this game. I will not pick the Bills. I won't pick this game. Can I do something better for you? Can I pick the over-under? I'm not picking the side.
Oh, you know what? What's up with everyone here? Yesterday, Hickey wouldn't answer a question of mine. Now you're not answering a question of mine. We're like a bunch of chickens here.
Well, I don't know about Hickey, but I've never bet with the Bills, bet against the Bills. I can't do it. However, I will pick the total, and I'm going under. I think this is going to go under. I think it was 48.5, 47.5, 48.5. I'm going to go under the total, whatever you want to use, whatever sports book. Which is weird because under doesn't really bode well for my Bills. If it's under, that's not a great sign.
I agree.
But I do think that the under will hit, so I gotta sort of go with my feeling here. Plus, Perloff also took all the overs, and so we're head-to-head in competition.
I actually have the score here. Let me just do my math real quickly. I went to Temple, so it's not great. 27, 37, 47. I have the over hitting. I'm going 27-23, and I'm going to have something that Maggie Gray doesn't have right now. It's confidence. The Bills are winning this game, plus the points with the Bills, too. Take them outright if you want. Maggie Gray is going to New Orleans, and she will have her team in the Super Bowl. Say it with me, Maggie. You're going to the Super Bowl. The Bills are going to the Super Bowl. Say it.
Zach, I hope that we're in New Orleans and we're, Bourbon Street, like wherever, Frenchman Street, I don't care. I hope so. One thing that bodes well just quickly for upstate New York. Now, this is a stretch. I'm hurting my back doing this one, but this is a stretch. When Syracuse University won the national title, Syracuse, and you're on in Syracuse. People in Syracuse know it's like a pro team up there. It's religion, Syracuse basketball. Syracuse won their title with Carmelo Anthony. Happened in New Orleans. I think it's good luck for upstate New Yorkers.
Gotcha. You know what? I think you should just stand on the treadmill for the rest of the next few days. I'm actually surprised you're not on the treadmill right now. I'm disappointed.
I got an appointment.
Yeah.
I got a date. It's like I'm raising money for something. It's like a telethon.
It's not like you're a mom or anything. You have a child to take after or care after.
Who? What? Yeah. He's fine.
All righty, Maggie. We appreciate it. Good luck to your Bills. And have a little confidence this time, all right?
Zach, thank you. Samter, Stu, miss you guys. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
There she is, Maggie Gray and Andrew Perloff, two football fans that are not confident in their football teams. Like, Maggie at least get it. Perloff, come on. They're 14-3. He's got to have a little bit more confidence. But how about, I like that blue cheese baptism and that cheese whiz baptism. I'm a good teammate right there. I'm giving ideas. Just giving ideas free of charge. I should have said to Perloff, because I know he's got a lot of money. I've been like, I got a good idea for your show. Give me $1,000, I'll give you a good idea. All righty, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We will take a break. When we come on back, we will rank the 5 jobs and the 5 hires that have been made in this coaching cycle, with still 2 remaining. But we will take a look at the Bears, the Pats, the Jaguars, the Jets, and the Raiders, and all the hires that they have made. Update time. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Oh, Pete Carroll isn't slowing down at age 73. He is back in the NFL coaching ranks, joining the Raiders. Carroll sat out last year after being in Seattle for 14 seasons. He gets a 3-year deal in Las Vegas. His appointment leaves only the Saints and Cowboys with openings. The Raiders went 4-13 this year, far cry from the once proud franchise they once were. Carroll walks into a division with 2 other coaches who have won Super Bowls. Andy Reid is looking for his 4th ring. His Chiefs host the Bills in the AFC Championship on Sunday.
Normally it doesn't hurt, for sure. I don't know how you weigh out the advantage of it. I feel like we play these guys all the time, so they know us, we know them. But I'm glad, to answer your question, I'm glad we have all those guys, and you'll need all of them.
The Chiefs are looking to avenge a loss to the Bills in the regular season. Buffalo will be without safety Taylor Rapp, who's out with a hip injury. Rookie Cole Bishop starts. The first game Sunday features the Commanders trying to continue this incredible ride when they face the Eagles in Philly. Both Quinyon Mitchell and Dallas Goedert are good to go for the Eagles, and the Texans fired offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick after the offense had an erratic season, in part due to injuries. I'm Rich Hacker.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. Cowboys and Saints. We don't know who they're going to hire yet. We think it's going to be Brian Schottenheimer with the Cowboys. The Saints, we literally have no clue. So if the Saints just hire someone competent, I think in most people's book, you're going to have Schotty as the last-ranked coach just because of the fact of how unpopular that hire is going to be, because we all know who runs that organization, and that, of course, is Jerry Jones. He's practically the coach. But out of the 5 that we have here right now, Liam Coen with the Jaguars, Aaron Glenn with the Jets, Pete Carroll with the Raiders, Mike Vrabel with the Patriots, and Ben Johnson with the Bears. Stu, 1 through 5. Go 5 to 1. 5 you think is the worst hire, 1 you think is the best hire. How do you rank them? Because I have my 5, and I want to see how far we differentiate.
Okay, so for my number 5, I'll go Aaron Glenn. I don't think he's a bad coach by any means. I don't know, just the Jets vibe, and I just think the other 4 slightly better. So I'll go 5 on Aaron Glenn.
We are 1 for 1. It's not that I dislike Aaron Glenn. They don't have a quarterback, and also he's a first-time head coach, and we know that's the Bills' division. I think Aaron Glenn's going to help out that defense, but I still don't know what they're doing offensively. So it's nothing against Aaron Glenn. I put Aaron Glenn in that 5th spot as well. Who's 4?
4 for me is Liam Coen. I don't think he's a bad coach. I'm worried about the experience level compared to at least a couple of the other guys. I'm just not 100% sold it's going to work. So I'll go Coen 4.
I actually put Pete Carroll 4, and I like Pete a lot. And I thought the Raiders should have hired him, and they ended up hiring him once Ben Johnson was out. I said Pete Carroll, they should go explore. And I threw out one other name as well. I think it was Brian Flores.
Yep.
They should be interested in. But I was more than fine with Pete Carroll. And you look at it as definitely 2 years, maybe like at best 4 or 5. And then after that, like if he's still coaching, then it's because the Raiders have turned it around and have been like the greatest team ever. And he still feels like a spring chicken because you're starting to then zero in on him being 80 years old. But I put Pete at 4. It's because I like the hire, but I don't know what their plan is at quarterback. And unless they're trading up in the draft, then they're going to have to maybe settle on a Sam Darnold or a Russell Wilson. And I don't feel great on that one. It's a short-term hire, but bring some stability back. So you go Liam Coen 4, I go Pete Carroll 4.
I'll go Pete Carroll 3. Again, just a solid hire, pretty much echoing what you said. The stability aspect of it's a key because we talked about yesterday all the coaches they've had in the last 20, 30 years, and they just need someone that can – get everything turned around just a tiny bit and then, make way for the next guy.
So I ended up going Liam Coen 3. I think that's a job that obviously he asked for a lot in terms of money and then more importantly, getting rid of Trent Baalke out. But with that being said, he's bounced around with the Rams, Kentucky, back to the Rams. Last year did a really good job with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Actually a better job than Dave Canales did with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I loved how we got the run game going in Tampa Bay this year, which was something that was not existent a year ago. But you look at that job for him, first-time head coach. You're not going to a crazy media market. You're going to try to fix Trevor Lawrence. You still got a good wide receiver, very good wide receiver, some pass rushers there. And the division outside of the Texans is easy peasy. And it's not like the Texans or the Chiefs or the Texans or the Bills. When you look at the AFC East and the AFC West, when you're seeing Liam Coen land in the AFC South. So I put Liam Coen in at 3.
Okay, so the top two are very close for me. I think this could go either way. I'll go Vrabel 2.
Ooh.
I really like the hire. I wanted the Raiders to get Vrabel. There's nothing wrong with the hire at all. I think, him and Drake May will be pretty good together, and him going home, I think it's a home run hire. But for me, it's number 2.
And then you go Ben Johnson 1. Why do you go Ben Johnson 1?
Just think the ceiling's higher. That's the only thing. I think Vrabel has a higher floor, but I think Johnson just has such a high ceiling. Plus, with Caleb Williams maybe being able to unleash something there, I just think Johnson, for me, is number 1. But it's very, very close.
So this was the toughest one to figure out because they were the 2 top names on the market. I lean more experience. So I go Ben Johnson, like how you said. The ceiling you feel like is higher for Ben Johnson. I also don't know what the floor is. For Vrabel, I saw what he did in Tennessee. We really didn't expect anything out of those Titans teams. One year he had them as the number 1 overall seed. Another year he had them in an AFC championship game where he defeated the Pats, then the Ravens, and they lost to Kansas City. So I go Ben Johnson 2, Mike Vrabel 1. For Ben Johnson, unfortunately, you're with the Bears, which, right, there's the Bears, I think, with Caleb Williams and some of the pieces they have, it was a destination where I understand the intrigue and taking it over, and it's good that Ben Johnson did go there. But it feels like that's where coaches and quarterbacks just go to have their careers just totally fall down and be a complete mess. But obviously the young, innovative offensive mind, Ben Johnson with the Bears I like. And then Vrabel, he brings respectability back to the Patriots. I know Josh McDaniels stinks as a head coach, but he is a good offensive coordinator. We saw him what he did, making Mac Jones a playoff quarterback in year 1 in his rookie season. So I go Mike Vrabel in at number 1. And I think that defense is going to start getting back to playing like the way the defense was capable of 2 years ago, not the way that they did fall off this year under Gerard Mayo. And you'll have accountability with what the Patriots need. And they're sitting there with the 4th overall pick in the draft. I think they're going to go get a nice weapon there, whether it's on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. I would like it to be Abdul Carter. And then offensively, you hammer the offensive line in free agency, and you go on out there, and you also get a nice number 1 wide receiver for Drake May. So I go Mike Vrabel 1 with the Pats, Ben Johnson 2 with the Bears, Liam Coen 3 with the Jaguars, Pete Carroll 4 with the Raiders, Aaron Glenn 5 with the Jets. Stu goes Aaron Glenn 5 with the Jets, Liam Coen 4 with the Jaguars, Pete Carroll 3 with the Raiders, and then he goes Mike Vrabel 2 with the Patriots, and Ben Johnson in at 1 with the Bears. Drue Tranquill going to be playing in the championship game on Sunday for the Kansas City Chiefs up against the Bills. He joins us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right, we continue. This is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We're getting you set for the AFC Championship game with the Buffalo Bills going to Arrowhead to go up against the Kansas City. How about those Chiefs? And now joining us, linebacker from the Kansas City Chiefs, Super Bowl champion, Drue Tranquill, kind enough to jump on board with us once again. Drue, appreciate the time. How you been?
Zach, I've been good, man. We're excited. Big game coming up, and a lot on the line.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And now this is like a regular occurrence for you. I know the first 4 years of your career, you loved being with the Chargers, but we saw you win a Super Bowl last year and all the elation and appreciation that you had. How about just what this team has been able to accomplish so far and what you kind of seen out of them in year two with you being in Kansas City?
Yeah, we got a great group of guys, obviously a great coaching staff and a great front office that's done a lot of historic things here when you look at what they've been able to accomplish over the last decade. And, we just try to keep stacking days and get better each day. And it's been cool seeing guys come in the door and help us, whether it was like Kareem Hunt, middle of the season, bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, young guys stepping up, making plays for us. And so we've had to find a lot of different ways to win this season, but it's been a fun ride. And we're one of the last four teams standing, which is what you always aim for, in this conference championship weekend.
Winning is addictive, and sometimes when you win, right, there's better business opportunities. You had an opportunity to leave Kansas City this offseason. You elected to re-sign. Were you ever close to leaving this past offseason, or was it like, hey, this is just so good right now in Kansas City. How the heck could I leave?
Well, I certainly loved it here. Having 3 young kids and a wife, you don't want to be bouncing around, but at the end of the day, business is business. And I wouldn't say I was close to leaving. I think they put forth a good effort to bring me back. And I felt like it was a win-win situation. We were able to get a deal done, but we're certainly super ecstatic to be here. We love everything about it. Obviously love Spags, love Coach Reed, love the guys here, Brett Veach, everybody involved. And love the Chiefs Kingdom, man. Our fans are one of a kind. I really don't believe there's a better place to play than Arrowhead.
Yeah, what is it like game day at Arrowhead? Now the stakes are a little bit bigger, so I'm not saying it's not loud in the regular season, but it goes to a different level when the Super Bowl, right, and a trip to the Super Bowl is on the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've played in 30 out of the 32 NFL stadiums, and obviously had played at Arrowhead a few times, being in the division my first 4 years in the NFL, and it was always my favorite place to play. Like the energy, the excitement, the fans are rowdy, they're loud, but it's a good advantage for us week in and week out, especially on the defensive side of the ball when you can get the offense operating on silent count, when they can't hear each other and make their checks. It tips the scale in your favor a little bit, but it's fun, man. I mean, our fans love it, we love them. And when you win, you create this culture that everybody kind of loves to be a part of. And we have that.
Drue Tranquill here with us of the Kansas City Chiefs. Just out of curiosity, your first 4 years in the league, you were a really good player. But the last 2 years, how do you think you've improved as a player being a part of the Chiefs?
I mean, I'm constantly just trying to ascend, whether it's, in the run game, in the pass game, in my coverage skills, in my blitzing. I feel like I've really kind of taken off as a blitzer over the last 2 or 3 years of my career, just learning different techniques, learning what moves to put on what guys. And so I'd say that's an area of my game that I've certainly tried to develop and seen growth in.
And you've mentioned Spags quite a few times already in this conversation. I've made the case that he should be a Hall of Famer with all the Super Bowls that he's won, leading the way for those defenses in New York and now with Kansas City. Just what does Steve Spagnuolo mean to you with your relationship with him the last 2 years?
Well, he's a great mentor and a great person. We obviously know what he's able to do with the X's and O's, but how he forms relationships with his players, how he invests in his players, and how he gets the most out of the guys week in and week out is special. And there's only a handful of people in the world, coaching-wise, that can do that.
Is it kind of crazy to you, Drew, that Kansas City's able to keep him? Because, man, I thought he would get another head coaching job. Didn't happen last year. This year he's got some interviews, but there's only 2 jobs left in this cycle. It's got to be surreal when you can keep a staff like that together.
It is. That's one thing that surprised me with the Chiefs is just the continuity, whether it's the guys, drawing cards for us, the assistant coaches, the position coaches, the staff continuity has been really special here. And they've done a good job of rewarding those guys for having success and performing, just like they've done their players, the guys that have performed, rewarding them. But we have many, many coaches on our staff that would be great head coaches. And we're certainly thankful to have them on the staff and keep them.
So you got to see Buffalo again. I know you played them earlier in the season. You guys haven't lost many games this year. It's really your one true loss of the year because you guys weren't a full go up against, the end of the season, the Denver Broncos. But how do you kind of look back at that first matchup and what didn't go your way up against the Bills?
Well, we know every game against them is going to be tough. It's going to come down to the turnover battle. It's going to come down to things like how do you do on third down and how do you do in the red zone? Can you make them kick field goals? Or are they going to score touchdowns? I think you look at, what they were able to do in that first game. I think they won the turnover battle. I think they were, 50 to 60% on third down. So both of those things, that's a losing formula for us. So we'll have to be better in this game. We know Josh is a great competitor. He's got a great group of guys around him. He's had a lot of continuity on the offensive line this year. They've been able to stay healthy for the most part. And they got great coaches. I mean, you looked at what Coach Brady's been able to do with the offense, Sean McDermott, and staff on the defensive side of the ball. And so they're a complete team. They play together. And so we'll have to play sound football, execute at a high level, and go get a dub.
You got the best quarterback in the league in Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to prepare up against him. There's so many great quarterbacks in this league, from Burrow to Lamar Jackson and obviously Josh. Do you feel like Josh is the toughest quarterback to prepare for?
There's many. I mean, we've played all those guys that you mentioned this year. They're all tough in their own regards. Josh, and Lamar obviously bring a different element when you talk about their ability to run the football. But Josh man, he's impressed me so much this year. His decision making, his ability to put the ball in a bread basket down the field, deep throws, intermediate throws, short throws. His ability to extend the play with his legs. He's so hard to sack and get on the ground. And he certainly protected the football. So he's a massive challenge. I mean, he's one of those guys where you're circling him on a Monday and Tuesday saying, we got to figure out a way to stop this guy. And he's a special player. They're lucky to have him.
Drue Tranquill here with us. Zach Gelb here with you on the Infinity Sports Network. I know you're focused on winning this game and going to the Super Bowl, but this is such a legendary rivalry now. There's so many iconic moments the last 5 years or so between the Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. You've been a part of it the last 2 seasons. Do you understand it, like, in the moment? Man, like, years from now, we're going to be talking about these games. Mahomes up against Allen, the Bills up against the Chiefs. Do you appreciate in the moment what eventually the historical significance will be?
Maybe not right now. I mean, I know, so from an outside, I watched some of those playoff games. Like, I remember the infamous game that changed the overtime rules in the playoffs. I remember watching that on my couch. We were out of the playoffs, and I remember watching that. We were at the pool and grilling burgers, but I remember watching that game and just being like, that might be single-handedly might be the greatest football game I've ever witnessed with my own 2 eyes. And to obviously be a part of that divisional round win last year in Buffalo, in the cold, fans throwing the snowballs, man. I mean, there's just a lot that goes into these games. It's 2 great programs. 2 programs that are really peaking at the same time, and obviously 2 historic quarterbacks when you talk about what these 2 cats are doing. And so I'm lucky to be a part of it, and I'm excited for what's to come this Sunday evening.
That's kind of crazy, right? You're watching that 13-second game at the pool, burgers, dogs, and now you're a part of it. Like, could you have ever imagined that in the moment that you would have been playing for Kansas City one day?
I mean, I wouldn't have imagined it just because I thought I was going to be back with the Chargers, and God had different plans. And then I come here on a 1-year deal. A lot of times guys come on 1-year deals to kind of prove it, and then they go somewhere else in free agency. And we were able to work things out and, stay a part of Chiefs Kingdom. And so, yeah, there's a lot of uncertainties. I think the odds makers would have had it a pretty low chance, but I'm here and I'm thankful, and I'm glad to be a part of this team.
Drue Tranquill here with us. All right, get into your defense. I think the world of Chris Jones. He's made so many iconic plays in these postseason games, one of the best defensive players in football. George Karlaftis keeps on getting better each and every year. We saw what he was able to do last week. Just how about the tone that those 2 guys really up front set for the rest of the Chiefs defense?
Well, it's the message that Coach Reed preaches in all these big games, but especially as you get in the playoffs. It starts with the offensive and defensive line. And if you look at all the teams in the playoffs right now, like, they've got good fronts. And those 2 guys have certainly kind of set the tone on our defensive front. But there's a ton of other guys: Tershawn Wharton, Mike Pennell, Mike Dana, Felix, Charles coming back has been huge for us in the pass rush department. Derek Nottie, who's been here a really long time and done a great job for us. There's guys kind of all up and down that front that have done well, and certainly made it easier for Leo, Nick, and I playing behind them. And so what we hope, man, I think we had 8 or 9 sacks last week, man. If we have that many sacks this week, I like our chances. They've got a really good front as well. It'll be a good battle in the trenches.
No, I'll tell you, man, the linebackers, a lot more asked out of you guys this week, especially going up against the mobility of Josh Allen, the way that he runs. And you know it. Nick Bolton, he's always good in the regular season, but come postseason time, that dude's made a lot of big plays for the Kansas City Chiefs.
He has. I still think he should have had 2 touchdowns in that one Super Bowl. I don't know how they called that one an incomplete pass. I guess he wasn't making a football motion, but he's come up, critical for this franchise multiple times. We're lucky to have him as our signal caller and our leader.
Let me get to Travis Kelce, right? There's so much conversation about him. And the last 2 years, people go, oh, he's past his prime. Oh, he's slowing down. He's too focused off the field with Taylor Swift. And then come postseason time, he shuts everybody up, Drue Tranquill. Do you just laugh at some of the the stupid comments that are made when it comes to Travis Kelce?
Well, who cares whether he's past his prime or not? I mean, when you could still put up 100, yards in a critical divisional matchup, I mean, I'd still say you're playing pretty good ball. And he's still one of the best in the league. What he's able to do to create space for himself, what he's able to do with the ball after the catch, and what he's able to do for us in terms of energy and leadership. You can't put a price tag on that. I think he's the longest tenured Chief, and or one of the longest tenured, maybe next to James Winchester. Him and James have been here a while, but I mean, Travis has done so much. We know what he means to this city, what he means to this team, and he does. He's one of those guys that shows up in the biggest moments.
For you, I know that you're so focused when you're on the sideline because you're getting ready to go back on the field, but you sometimes just get lost in you're in awe on what Pat and what Travis are able to do because, man, that's an elite duo, one of the greatest duos of all time that we've ever seen in the NFL.
I mean, once you make the corrections and you're kind of able to sit there on the bench and catch your breath and get ready to go back on the field, you kind of get to see some plays like last week, that diving pass to Travis in the end zone. I don't even think Travis was running the play right, according to some of the offensive guys. I think he was just kind of doing his own thing, and somehow him and Pat are always on the same page, and they're able to connect in another iconic play. You look back to Baltimore at the bank last year on that third down where a similar pass diving and Travis somehow extends and dives and converts that first down for us to keep the chains moving. Whether it's the divisional round against Buffalo last year, he scores that touchdown and throws the heart up to T Swift and his brother up in the suite. I mean, there's just iconic moments with Pat and Trav and the rest of this team, and hopefully we can create some more of those on Sunday.
You look at the referees, right? That was a conversation after the Texans game. They talk openly. They thought you guys were getting the calls, and there's like a chief advantage. How do you kind of respond to that when the officials are getting associated with you guys and are be kind of using as an excuse for the rest of the teams around the league?
Yeah, I think it's a silly narrative that people just kind of start buying into and believe in. And any call that goes your way that maybe shouldn't have, now it just intensifies the narrative. I think if you look at any team when they had a historic run, the Patriots, like it was kind of the same deal, same conversation. So I hope the referees have a clean game, and I hope they call it perfectly for both sides of the ball. I think that's what we all hope for as competitors.
Do you have any idea how to hit the quarterback anymore?
You just gotta have a feel for it. I mean, once they release the ball, you got to do your best to just not smack them. Like if it's a big hit, like they're probably going to pull the yellow flag out of their pocket. It's just a different game, different day and age. And so it makes it tough on the defender for sure in some scenarios, but especially on the sideline, when you get a big guy like Josh Allen and you're trying to be physical and trying to make a tough tackle, and maybe he kind of acts like he's going to get a little extra yards and then goes out of bounds. I mean, all the great quarterbacks know how to use that to their advantage. And so we'll have to be cognizant of that. He's a tough tackle, but we'll also have to not, draw the personal foul either.
Last thing I'll ask you before we let you run, Drue Tranquill, and really appreciate the time as always getting you set for this AFC Championship game between the Bills and the Chiefs in Arrowhead coming up on Sunday. I got to ask you about your alma mater, Notre Dame, when they lost in Week 2 to Northern Illinois. Hot take, I would have never thought that they would have made it to the national championship game. Got off to a great start, then the game got away from them. They made it close at the end, but to see what Marcus Freeman and company were able to do this year, just what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, Zach, I don't know that would have been a hot take. I felt the same way. But to see, I think the thing that impresses me most is what, Coach Freeman, you look at Al Golden, you look at Coach Denbrock, what they were able to do from a strategy standpoint and how they said, this is how we're going to play. We're going to run the ball. We're going to use Riley's legs. Riley just developed as a thrower. You see him making some big throws in that playoff. But they leaned on the run game and they leaned on their defense. And the defense came up time and time again. You look at Coach Marty Biaggi and the special teams department and the number of critical plays that they had down the stretch and in the playoffs. It seems like they really used that NIU loss to develop an identity. And I think that identity carried them like throughout the playoffs if you look at how the games went. And unfortunately, the game got away from it. You look at the 18-play drive to start that game and you go, they're going to play the game they want to play. And Ohio State responded, I think, with 28 unanswered points. And so you get down 28-7 and you're not playing the game that you've played all year long to get you to that point. But you look at the resiliency, and I think it speaks to the culture and what, Coach Freeman is doing with those guys and kind of never stopping, never backing down. And they're able to make it close there at the end. You get off the field on 3rd and 11, who knows what happens, down 8. But credit to Ohio State. I mean, they got hot at the right time. Ohio State, they were they were a juggernaut. We were kind of banged up, had lost 2 offensive linemen. I know they had some banged up guys too. We were, missing some of our key D tackles, but I'm proud of them, man. I'm proud to be a fighting Irishman at heart. And I hope to make it back and see some of these games.
Well, good luck, good health coming up on Sunday. We appreciate the time as always, Drue Tranquill.
We'll see you, Zach. Thanks. Go Chiefs.
There he is, Drue Tranquill, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll take a break. It is a Friday, so still will ask me some questions. I'll give him some answers on the other side. We call that segment Onside Offside, and it's coming on back after these short messages.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty. Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network, onside, offside time. You just heard the big voiceover guy say it. Stu's got a few questions for me. I'll give you a few answers. Let's get it. Stu, what's cooking?
All right, well, the Jaguars filled the 4th coaching opening with Liam Coen, while the Raiders filled the 5th with Pete Carroll, leaving just the Saints and Cowboys as the lone teams without a head coach. Now, reports indicate that Dallas could be finalizing a deal with offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer any minute now, far from the splashy names like Deion Sanders that were in consideration. Onsides, offsides, Jerry Jones has made the Cowboys an undesirable place to play and coach.
So 30, 40 years ago, or even 20 years ago, forget about what the Cowboys were, but I think there was value, right, playing in a big market, playing for a huge brand. And I still think there is, but now with the individuals really being the brand and them having social media to highlight their platform, I don't think you need the huge market as much as what you once did. Now, with that being said, I think players also value a lot more personally these days. And you heard Dalton Schultz before in the past leave the Cowboys, go to the Texans, and shred the environment of the Dallas Cowboys. Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott, they're kind of immune, but it still impacts them probably, if you ask them truthfully, about having to deal with an organization and an owner that cares more about generating clicks and drama and having all the power rather than doing whatever it takes to win games. So, when you say Jerry has made the Cowboys an undesirable place to play and coach, it's still one of 32 jobs, right, in the league, like one of 32 places. But I think there's a lot better options out there, and where they used to be is very far from where they are now. So, yes, I do agree on sides that Jerry Jones has made the Cowboys an undesirable place to play and coach. On sides.
All right, in 2 weeks, we'll learn who won all of the NFL postseason awards, including MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, as well as Offensive and Defensive Rookies of the Year. However, one position that always gets left out is offensive line, and your buddy Deion Dawkins wants some recognition for the big guys up front.
It's a beautiful thing for an individual that is a part of this league to be able to get an award for being great. And I'll circle back on, offensive linemen don't have awards for being great. There's not a Protector of the Year award. I'm knocking at so many doors now to get this award going. And I'm going to head spirit and make sure that this gets done before I'm done playing, because there's so many greats. If we have great quarterbacks, we have great running backs, we have rushing titles, we have quarterback passing titles. All those titles are reflections of the O linemen, which are the protectors.
So on sides, offsides, the NFL should add an award for offensive linemen.
On sides. We got to show more love to the big fellas up front. And you know what? There's a great football saying. The game is won in the trenches. So it's time for us to reward the offensive linemen in this league. We try to just get all sexy with MVP, which always goes to a quarterback, it feels like. Offensive Player of the Year, which probably goes to a running back or a wide receiver. Defensive Player of the Year, obviously not going to an offensive lineman. Rookie of the Year doesn't go to an offensive lineman. The linemen never win any awards. It's time to put respect on the big fellas' names. I am Zach Gelb, and I speak for fat people all over the country. Oh, I'm a little less fat now, but you get the point. I want to reward the big fellas, the hog mollies, and the guys that do the hard work to produce wins on a football field. We get too cute and we get all sexy Oh, quarterbacks, oh, wide receivers, oh, tight ends, running backs. What about the big fellas in the trenches doing the dirty work so everybody else can eat and get nice paychecks? Yes, the NFL should add an award for offensive linemen. And Roger Goodell, you're a disgrace as a commissioner until you add this award. And I started to say nice things about Roger Goodell. I called him the best commissioner in sports these days, behind Rob Manfred and Gary Bettman and Adam Silver. But Roger, you got to do what's right. We got to reward the big fellas up front. Give them a damn award. Give them something. Instead of all these like GQ head coaches and all these lovely offensive weapons and, we got to slobber all over wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks. There's nothing better than a big fella just dominating and pancaking an opposing player in front of him. I want respect on offensive linemen's names. Put it on their names. Give them an award.
All right.
Anthony Munoz, maybe? I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, the John Hogg Hanna Trophy. Could do something. You know, just do something. Whatever offensive lineman that you want. The Robert Gallery Award?
Oh, yeah. That's a great award. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Unbelievable.
Could you give, like, one out for holding, I guess, if you win that award? All righty, next question.
Oh, boy. The numbers are in for the college football national title game, and while over 21 million people tuned in, that number was down 12% from the 25 million who watched last year. Some point to the matchup, while others blame the presidential inauguration for the low viewership. The big question is...
We always got to blame the politics, right?
You have to.
When in doubt, just blame the politicians.
The big question is whether the new college football playoff format is the reason, either with playoff fatigue or the game being held so late in January around the NFL playoffs. So onside, offsides, the low viewership was due mostly to fans' fatigue with the playoffs.
I'm going to go offside. I'm going to say the biggest problem is the game got lost in the NFL calendar. Right? So I think the way that you meant this was fatigue with the college football playoff, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would go offside on that. I don't think there was fatigue for the college football playoff, especially with two huge brands. But when you add more teams, yeah, it gets, a little watered down, especially when the first two rounds were underwhelming. But at the semifinal games were awesome, and you had these two enormous brands, so I was surprised that the ratings weren't that high. But I look more so, and I know I was kidding about the politics. I don't think there was a lot of foresight on that one. Inauguration day, I felt like my Twitter feed, and I was at the game, I felt like my Twitter feed was more Trump this, Trump that, Trump this, Trump that. Maybe if Trump didn't win, would there have been that much social, like there'd still obviously be a big deal with Kamala Harris, but would there have been that much on social media compared to Trump winning? Probably not, especially because of how polarizing Trump is and how much of a reaction Trump does cause. So I think Trump actually trumped the college football playoff. And then you also put in, from a reaction standpoint, like doing a show, right? We were in Atlanta. Of course, we talked about the national championship game, but you were coming off Chiefs and, you're coming off the Ravens and the Bills, that Mega Sunday game. And then also on Saturday, you had the Lions go down. And as much as I love college football, it feels like in the media climate, still NFL is king. So the low viewership was due mostly to fan fatigue with the playoff. I'm going to go offside on that. I think there's other reasons.
Offside.
All right, the NBA announced the All-Star Game starters yesterday, with LeBron and Giannis garnering the most votes. However, fans were up in arms that sophomore sensation Victor Wembanyama wasn't voted a starter despite averaging 25 points, 11 rebounds, and a league-leading 4 blocks per game. Onsides, offsides, you would rather watch Wemby than any of the other starters.
I guess because he'll probably try, right? But is this something that I'm freaking out about? No. But would I rather watch Wemby than any of the other starters? Yes, because he's also newer too, so onsides. And he's an alien when I watch him. I just think he's an alien. I'll never forget when Hickey and I, we went to his draft availability, and we got a chance to talk to Victor Wembanyama, and he came in a jumpsuit. And he was just sitting there at the dais in I think it was a gray jumpsuit or a green jumpsuit, I forget. And he just kind of like blended in with the wall behind him, and he just looked like a floating head. And he's so tall, 7'6", and he's just so skinny too. And he just looked like a floating head. I literally thought he was an alien and not from this planet. I thought he was from like Mars or something, or Jupiter. You know, that's one of the most unique individuals on the planet, just in terms of the way that his body was made. That's crazy. All righty, next one.
All right, last one here. As we discussed earlier in the week, Ichiro was a first ballot Hall of Famer, but missed becoming just the second unanimous choice by one vote. Yesterday, Ichiro spoke out, saying he would like to invite the lone holdout over to his home to have a drink and a good chat. So onside, offsides, the baseball writers should make it mandatory that everyone reveals their ballots.
Onsides. Why are we protecting these voters? And also, way too many people have votes. But if you're good, like, I always reveal my Heisman vote. I don't have to, but I always do so. I think if you're voting on something, you should have to say who you're voting for. You know, especially when it comes to these awards. If you're going to vote for these awards, and if people aren't okay with that, then you give up your votes. But I want to know the one knucklehead. Maybe go numbnuts here. Yeah, numbnuts is probably better. I want to know the one numbnuts here that didn't end up voting for Ichiro Suzuki and what his reasoning was. I don't think that name has come out publicly yet. And also, did you see when Ken Griffey Jr. surprised him? Ichiro's reactions are just awesome. The elation, right? Like, this is Ichiro Suzuki. Like, you don't think that he would be like a fat kid in a candy store jumping for joy just because another baseball player's on the screen. But when Ken Griffey Jr. popped up on the screen, you would have thought that he was like zooming with our show. And like, that was the elation and the look and how in awe Ichiro Suzuki was. So the question is, the baseball writers should make it mandatory that everyone reveals their ballots. Absolutely onsides. Now, I have an onside, offside bonus question for you, Stu. So this comes from the YouTube chat.
Oh, boy.
Angel in the YouTube chat. You rarely mention baseball. I understand why. However, do you think what the Dodgers are doing is wrong? Onside or offside, what the Dodgers is doing right now is wrong, Stu.
I don't blame them. I just think they're taking advantage of a kind of a loophole.
With the deferred money?
Yeah. Probably something that shouldn't be allowed, but they're still paying the money. If your players agree to
it, what can you do?
Yeah, and it's not illegal, so I guess I'll say onsides, but it's, again, I don't really fault them for doing it.
You may not like it. You may think it's slimy. But if you were one of the other teams and you were getting these players, you would be 2 thumbs up. So I'm not going to be hypocritical here. I'm not going to be a salty Yankee fan like Stu is. And I'm not going to drop the ball on this question. And in my answer, like Aaron Judge dropped the ball in the World Series. And sorry, I'm just giving zingers on a Friday. My bad. I'm going to go offside. Do I think what the Dodgers is doing is wrong? No. And if you say yes, you're just jealous. Stu's jealous. Jealous. All righty, Zach Gelb Show, Infinity Sports Network. We got one more segment to get to. And the question that we're going to be asking is, outside of Andy Reid, which coach do you trust the most this weekend? Is it Nick Sirianni? Is it Dan Quinn? Or is it Stu's favorite coach, Sean McDermott? You want to jump on at 855-212-4227, 855-212-4227. You can always follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Well, there's no keeping Pete Carroll down. The 73-year-old is back in the NFL coaching ranks after some time off. He is the new head coach of the Raiders, getting a 3-year deal after 14 seasons in Seattle, almost instantly making them champions. He takes over a team now that went 4-13 a year ago. The Saints and Cowboys, the only teams looking for a new head man. Carroll's former assistant, Dan Quinn, has the Commanders in the NFC Championship game in his first year at the helm and will face the Eagles on Sunday. It certainly helps to have Jaden Daniels, the second pick overall, has been better than anyone could have imagined, and he couldn't have written a better script so far.
It's a blessing to make it this far in the season. This counts a lot of. I know teams want to be in this position, so it's a blessing. Can't really take it for granted, but you also just got to be in the moment and take it one day at a time.
Quinyon Mitchell is good to go for Philadelphia, as is Dallas. Got it the second part of Sunday's doubleheader as the Bills in Kansas City. Buffalo beat the two-time defending champs earlier this year, but 0-4 on the road in the postseason under Sean McDermott. And a surprising change in Houston, where the Texans have fired offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. Last year, he was a hot coaching candidate, now unemployed. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Oh my God, we're back again.
So I find this interesting. I'm sure most people listening will not give a rat's ass. So it's like one of those things. Then why do you say it on a radio show? But it's my show, so that's what I'm going to say, even though we do the show for the listeners. I was just trying to find this during the break because we had Drue Tranquill on about 40 minutes ago for the Chiefs. And the last time he joined us was last year. And when he joined us, it made Entertainment Tonight. Like, Entertainment Tonight did at least an 8 to 10 minute segment on our conversation with Drue Tranquill because he said something about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and how they're maybe in love. And this thing got blasted all over the internet. Like, my friends' girlfriends were reaching out to me. And they were like, I just saw you on my TikTok feed interviewing some Chiefs player about Taylor Swift's boyfriend. And even, Stu, if memory serves me right, I think like Angie saw it too because you're in the Swiftie algorithm.
Yeah, she saw it on TikTok as well in one of those whatever videos, yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't, 8 minutes at least on Entertainment Tonight. So I found the clip. You know when the interview was from? Literally a year ago. January 24th. So there's something about January 24th and Drue Tranquill being on this show. And he joined us last year, and I texted him, and we'll talk from time to time. And he's been joining us since his days with the Los Angeles Chargers. And when I reached out to him this time, I was like, oh, by the way, like, you joined us around this time last year before the AFC Championship game. Maybe it's good luck and you come back on the show. He's like, yeah, I got you. No problem. Come back on. I did not know, though, that was literally a year ago when we had him on January 24th. It was after that Bills game, which was January 21st. And then we had him on the 24th and, away we go. So I guess now every January 24th, we have to have Drue Tranquill on the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network if the Chiefs are playing in a big game. Anyway, it's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. James in Jacksonville says, Zach, how would you describe the Liam Coen hire? It's interesting. You could submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. I think it's chaotic, right? Like, Stu, you're laughing.
It's the exact word I was thinking.
It's really chaotic. You had a coach that, all right, the Jaguars, they could say, I hate when teams do this. I understand why they do it, but I hate when teams do this. We got our first choice. We got the guy that we wanted all along. Their first choice was Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson said, you're not getting rid of Trent Baalke. I ain't listening to you. I'll go flirt with the Raiders before I think about taking your job. And then I go to Chicago. Shad Khan, though, his miscalculation in this and why he got embarrassed, even though he ultimately got his fans what they wanted, or one of the names that they wanted, was he thought that Trent Baalke would still be there and Liam Coen wouldn't balk at the opportunity of not taking the job because Trent Baalke's there, right? And when Liam Coen said, yeah, I'm going back to Tampa, and Tampa Bay then says, all right, in order for us to keep you, we'll make you the highest paid coordinator in the history of the league. Yeah, I thought that was done, and I thought that was finished with. It's like when Mia O'Brien joined us yesterday, I was like, all right, Baalke's out. Shad Khan's incompetent. He's only won 30% of his games as an NFL owner since taking over in 2012. He's now about to hire a sixth coach. Is Liam Coen like he could, but is he really going to go back to this even though he got what he wanted with Baalke being out? And then not only does Shad Khan say, we'll get Baalke out, but also we're going to give you a Ben Johnson offer. So ultimately Jacksonville got their guy. But how they got there, it was chaotic, it was a mess, and it was a roller coaster ride. Like, I look at this now, and if you're a Jaguars fan, yeah, I don't think you care how you got there. But how you got there, we could all acknowledge, even though you liked the Liam Coen hire, was extremely sloppy. But also, Stu, this idea that they wanted, and I don't know if you feel differently, but this idea that Liam Coen was their guy from the start, I'm not saying they didn't have him as one of their top candidates, like one of, but not the top. The top was clearly Ben Johnson, and then Liam Coen, I think, was 2. But when the report is that the Jaguars were offering him Ben Johnson money, I know that's saying, all right, what Ben Johnson's salary is, that's what they're going to give him. But they had that money pretty much reserved for Ben Johnson, I would imagine, right? That's why it's kind of laughable to me that this is now getting reported on as Liam Coen was the guy that Shad Khan wanted all along.
I would assume it was Ben Johnson. And maybe even Vrabel, too. I don't know. That was probably just so quick to the Patriots that they didn't even have really a chance at Vrabel. But I could have seen him as maybe someone they would have targeted. But definitely Ben Johnson. I feel like there were 4 teams at least that Ben was the first target for.
Now, I'll give Shad Khan credit for this. When they make a hire, they find a way to dominate the news cycle. Look at their last 3 hires. Urban Meyer dominated the news cycle. Ended up being a disaster. He kicked his kicker, right? And there was a lot of other things that went wrong there, like not flying back with the team and then getting a little handsy with someone at his Urban Meyer pint house or whatever it is after you had a game and everyone was flying back with the team and Urban Meyer didn't, and we saw that video that surfaced. Then the Doug Peterson hire. Guy that's won a Super Bowl, respectable guy in the league. I don't think it had as much splash waves as either of these hires, but still it's a big name when you're bringing in Doug Peterson. And I'm not saying Liam Coen is a huge name, but he was that second innovative offensive mind on the market, right? I think it went Ben Johnson 1, then you had Liam Coen 2, and then Joe Brady probably 3 of the innovative offensive minds that are out there that are available. But how they got there made this such a big splashy hire because we all went from yesterday shredding the Jaguars. Why did the Jaguars wait this long when we all told them to get rid of Trent Baalke? And now it's like, I don't know how you feel about this, Stu. It's weird to praise the Jaguars today because, yes, they got their guy. But as we were talking about, it's how they got there. And I'm sure Jaguars fans, like if this was you, Stu, you would only care if you end up getting the guy that you wanted or one of the guys that you wanted. But being a laughingstock for a day, or really 2.5 weeks when everyone told you to get rid of Trent Baalke and taking this long, waiting until the 11th hour, right? It was 11:59. The clock was about to strike midnight. And then they said, okay, we'll get rid of Trent Baalke. That still has to be somewhat frustrating, even though you're satisfied as a Jaguars fan that Baalke's out and you're okay with the coaching hire.
Yeah, almost bittersweet. Like, you got the guy, but at the same time, it's like,
But I would still feel lack of trust with the owner in that organization.
Sure, definitely.
Now, your organization you may think is in better hands with Liam Coen, but it's still operated by Shad Khan. All righty, let's do this. I'll ask you this question. I have my answer, and I think it's a difficult question. You go with Dan Quinn, you go with Nick Sirianni, or you could go with Sean McDermott. Outside of Andy Reid. So those 3 coaches, which coach do you trust the most heading into this weekend?
Yeah, it's really tough. I think I'll go with Sirianni. I don't know. I don't feel good about...
I think I'll have vegetables with dinner tonight. That's pretty much what... You're like a kid saying that. Like, oh, yeah, I have to, but I have to give an answer. It's not great, though.
I think I'll go Sirianni. He's been to a Super Bowl. I mean, nothing against Dan Quinn. I need to see more from Dan Quinn as a head coach to pick him here. So for me, it's between McDermott and Sirianni. I'll give the slight edge to Sirianni.
Yeah, you got Brussels sprouts, you got asparagus, and you got spinach. What's your favorite out of those 3?
Brussels sprouts. I actually really like Brussels sprouts.
I like asparagus. The only problem with asparagus is then when you go to the bathroom, your pee smells a little funky. There's no doubt about that. Cream spinach I like, but that's like not really healthy. The like regular spinach, I have to put spinach in things. Like you give me an egg white like frittata with spinach, I'm good. Like you put spinach in a smoothie, I'm good. Spinach just on its own, nah, not that much. I like Brussels sprouts though. I could do Brussels sprouts. I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's Sirianni. And like Dan Quinn, he's good. But then there's always that 28-3 thought. In a big game, how do you manage a lead? Sean McDermott, there's just so many mismanagement blunders, even though he's done a really good job in Buffalo. But then you look at Sirianni, even though he could be a child on the sidelines at times, the guy has exceeded expectations in Philly. Last year was the one year where it got away from him. But he's won a ton of games. You know, this is a coach that first year they made the wild card round when they weren't expected to. Then they made the Super Bowl. Yeah, they started 10-1. They were a disaster down the stretch, only winning one game. But this year they've restored the ship. And they are now 60 minutes away from going to a Super Bowl, and they're 120 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl. I was actually impressed with that math there for a second. It's a good job out of me. I'll pat myself on the back here. So I will go with Nick Sirianni. But this is a big drop-off. Like Andy Reid, Philly Andy Reid, you didn't trust him. But Kansas City Andy Reid, because of Mahomes, you trust him. And then trying to order those other three coaches on who you trust the most, it's like, yeah, I guess I'll have the Brussels sprouts as a kid. That's kind of, or I guess I'll have the asparagus. That's what it kind of feels like. So here are my predictions one more time. A little disappointed that Maggie didn't give us a prediction on the game and she went with an over-under. And we're tied now in NFL picks on the year. So if I end up losing this because I took her Bills and she took an over-under and she gets it right, I'm going to be very annoyed. But anyway, I'm going 27-23. The Bills make you want to shout. They get the victory up against the Chiefs. And then I'm going 27-20. The Eagles take down the Commanders. Big thanks to Maggie Gray, besides her last answer. No, just kidding. Big thanks to Drue Tranquill from the Chiefs, Stu, Santher, Ack, and each and every one of you for tuning in. I'll be back on Sunday for Sunday morning football from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern on many of these same stations. And then we will recap everything you need to know for Conference Championship weekend. We will have a Super Bowl matchup set when we get back in the studio on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We out. Bye-bye. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.